Research. That's my thing. Oh, no. First try. Outstanding. I'll be right now. Oh, yeah. That's that time. Maybe after the future. No, like he's like, yeah. Ready today?
I'll start Selena. I'll start. If I get a motion to exit non-public, please.
I make a motion to exit non-public.
Get a second.
Second.
Second by Cindy. Joe?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Motion passed. Public input, anybody with public input? All right, I'll hold it open for 30 minutes, and if somebody comes along, we'll allow them to speak. Student representative is not here tonight, so I'll move on to Chromebook bid award.
Yep, this is, we decided to take this and use our ESSER funds for this. This will be basically the last of the ESSER funds. We have a little bit left over. I'll get to that in the end. We received 10 bids. Matt and Marjorie sat down. They determined that Riverside Technologies was the best bid, so we're going to get 105 Chromebooks for $21,000. We don't need the licenses because we already have the licenses too. So we already had a number of licenses already purchased. Google licenses.
So they have to go into each one and then transfer it.
I think they just turn it on and give it the code. That's, I think, Steve,
Oh.
whatever.
The licenses don't come with the Chromebook?
Nope, they're separate. Most of them are charging, you go through there, they'll say licenses and all that.
So that cost is not,
Up
we're not paying that cost.
I-
For the license.
Looking at this now, it actually says $30 each.
Yeah, so it looks like,
I think that's 200. So we might be buying some licenses. I have to do my math now.
100 times 200
100.
is
the 20.
20,000, then add 5 more and you get 1,000.
Yeah, so-
So 21 and then $30 increments of 105, right?
Yes,
That would be
do
the,
that math quickly. I'd have,
I
We
didn't, but I
lost
just,
it at
that-
100 times.
that's how we're assuming. All right,
I have a question.
go ahead.
How many Chromebooks do we have currently?
oh boy, Cindy. Every kid has had one. So what do we have? 1,100 kids roughly? Approximately around that. So I'd say we're approximately right around 1,100 books. So every kid has one.
All set, Cindy.
So we're just gonna use those to like
Well,
trade out?
this would be a new class, get it. So the old ones we're going to get rid of. And this would be a new group, whether it's fourth grade coming in or kindergarten. I don't know which one's being replaced.
Yeah.
That's how they would do it.
Right, so those ones are at the end of the cycle where they're either hit their, their
Yeah, 4 years old.
or taken out broken ones or whatever, right? Do
The,
you know how many?
And we do have spares too. I don't know how many. We also, cannibalize these two. We take the screens, we take the keys, we take the keyboards. We do just about everything we can before we get rid of them. So that if a kid breaks a screen, they'll put a screen on it before we go buy a new one.
I remember we bought a bunch of them, I think from Concord years ago, right? Like, so those are, do you know how many of them, are we on a good schedule for?
Oh, yeah, they're in the budget.
uh,
Yep, and we're in the budget. I don't know how many were in the budget this year.
to hit a
The
year?
only reason we did this is because we couldn't buy the repeaters for the radios. So we swapped out the repeaters for the Chromebooks in the budget.
so the,
Yeah, so that we could do both.
fine, I don't know how many we scheduled by, but.
Yeah, I think they've already,
But 105 of them were purchased with Ezra as opposed to our general fund. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Know the exact model Chromebook these are?
no, they were match specifics. They're the new ones. They're 14-inch screens. The newest, probably
You're looking for,
ever.
Well, no, like a couple
no, I'm just
minutes
curious if
ago,
you, we could get it in the Friday memo if you.
Oh, I can do that.
there's a million different types of.
Yeah,
Chromebooks,
So you want the
You just,
Which I
yeah,
learned
just,
recently.
yeah, he could give us the specs.
Cause I mean, there's
Chromebook specs?
there's $80 ones and there's $300 ones. I didn't know where these ones was,
What
where do
spectrum?
these fall in for
Yeah.
200?
I know that we required certain specs, but I can't. I don't know. That's fine.
Is the quote all for the same model?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all the same.
With the,
anybody else? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes me. Next up, principals opening day reports. Why don't we have, as Tom was the first one at the table, why don't we have Tom go? Nicely planned, Pete. Nice. You looked Pete, you looked enthusiastic. You looked enthusiastic, Pete, but not so much so that,
By all means. Do that. First day. First day was very smooth. There's always a lot of anxiety leading up to the first day, a lot of anticipation. But it's the magic of the first day. The students come, the teachers come, and we have a good day. This year, the building was beautiful. Todd's crew really did a good job over the summer cleaning, waxing, painting the walls. The building was ready. We had some decorations up, furniture was ready to go. We had 99.5% attendance from students, which was amazing. We had almost every student attend on the first day. Fourth graders, their parents were allowed to come to the building and walk them to class on the first day. That's just a tradition and just step up to a new school. We had people stationed throughout the building in the morning, smiling, welcoming people, making sure students knew where they were going. Fourth and fifth grade loop, so I continually mess that up. I still go to the fifth grade looking for the fourth graders and vice versa, but I'm working on it. The PTG created a nice new banner that says "Welcome Rams" right in the front lobby. They brought some green and white balloons to spruce it up. So thank you to the PTG. Officer Broughton came in too. She helped welcome people to the school. Nice friendly face from the police department. In the morning, I walked around during morning meeting. I started with the fourth grade. I went into each classroom and introduced myself so they knew who I was. And really just kind of got a sense of what was going on. All of our teachers were using that time to really engage in community building, welcoming students, asking about their summer, having them share, showing them around the room, talking about the school. So, you know, overall, just walking around the building, like I'm very proud of how that did. Our teachers showed up, our students showed up and put their best foot forward. You know, not that I'm trying to jinx or anything, but it gives me a lot of optimism. Everything, not everything. Yeah. Transportation, so the buses arrived and left mostly on time. They were a little bit delayed, but they were still within the window that we would normally expect. That was day one. Day two came and that was a different day. But that's okay. For day one, everyone got to the go. We have our updated enrollment numbers. We have 85 fourth graders, 92 fifth graders, 85 sixth graders, 72 seventh graders, and 81 eighth graders for a total of 415 students. In regards to staffing, we did hire some new staff. It's much less new staff than this time last year. Some of the new people include a new school counselor, Mr. Bob Hatzmanulis. We have a new behavior coach. She started at the end of last year, but this is her first full year, Mackenzie Ledoux. She's in the green room. We have a new BCBA position that's filled by Amanda Maza. Our new fourth grade case manager, Holly Quinn, she stepped up from the elementary school. It's nice because she knows last year's third graders, and so it kind of helps to have a familiar face coming into the fourth grade. We have a new music teacher that we're sharing with the high school, Mr. Jeffrey Velez. We have two new Title I tutors. So Trisha Ferrioli is our Title I reading teacher, and Andy Harmon is our Title I math. Heather Newton transitioned from her role in the RAM room last year, and she is now the sixth grade math lab teacher. And we have a new fifth grade teacher, Mr. Ross Jackson. We still have a few open positions. We are still advertising for a sixth grade special ed case manager. We are still advertising for a SEL case manager, the RAM room. And we are still advertising for a health teacher and multiple paras and multiple substitutes. As far as challenges, there's always challenges. There are definitely opportunities. I think one challenge we had was with the schedule, trying to make sure that teacher duties filled all supervision needs of the school. And so our biggest challenge is lunch and recess, because that's when we have to try to have as much coverage as possible. But Bridget Cunningham was pretty creative, and we pulled, you know, non-teaching staff, so counselors, secretaries, paras, anybody that we could. And right now we do have a good system ready to go. And of course, you know, we still have a few unfilled positions. So we are absorbing some of that with the student services team, the case manager, and we're working on help. Some upcoming events. Let's see, this Friday, this Friday, the 6th is Picture Day. Next week, all week, we have the Scholastic Book Fair. So students will be brought down in their classes one day a week. And then we also have open house next Thursday night from 6 to 7:30 p.m. At the open house, the Scholastic Book Fair will be available, so parents can check it out with their students. We'll probably also have our annual cookie walk. That's something that I don't think we can pass up again this year. We've started our iReady assessments, our first diagnostic. So this week, 4th and 5th grade has already started. We should have those completed in the next 2 weeks. Offering a principal coffee hour on Tuesday, September 17th at 9 a.m. This is at the middle school, so we'll have coffee and some light snacks for about an hour if anyone wants to come by. Any parent, any community member is welcome to come. And we're also advertising a parent presentation that's going to be on Tuesday, September 24th. That's Lynn Lyons. Lynn is a clinical social worker, and she focuses on youth mental health regarding anxiety and depression. She came and spoke to our faculty at one of the PD days and was a really powerful speaker. So I'm excited that parents and community members have the opportunity to participate.
Questions, comments for Tom? Thanks, Tom. Well,
I will say that Tom definitely just stole my thunder on the Lions thing.
Me too, because it's in my report too.
Check that one.
Where is it being held?
At the middle school
Thank you.
from at 6:30.
Yep.
Yeah, so actually, the event starts at 6:30, but the PCG is hosting a spaghetti dinner beforehand. So, and we also have students from RCFY and NJHS to offer babysitting and childcare. So parents, to make it easier, we have dinner and childcare for that event.
So it's the actual presentation starts at 6:30.
Presentation starts at 6:30.
Thank you.
Dinner plates start at 6.
Go ahead.
Let's do that.
No, I didn't have that last part. Good evening and welcome. Thank you. Yeah, the high school had a great start of the school year. It started with our freshmen, the Jumpstart program. So we welcomed in approximately 45 of the incoming freshmen. So we missed ballpark about 25 of them did not show, but about 45 did. Mr. Lacasse, Randy did a great job with some student leaders, kind of putting them through the pace of what their schedule is, team building, games, activities, tours of the school. So a real shout out to Mr. Lacasse and his team. Tremendous job that they did welcoming in our incoming freshmen. Week after that, we had our second annual seniors and staff barbecue and cookout. That was quickly becoming a favorite event of a lot of the staff members and definitely the kids here. Myself, Miss McCann, and Mr. Palma did all the cooking as far as the burgers and hot dogs and veggie burgers or whatnot for everybody. And the parent organization provided desserts and sides for everybody as well. And it's just, you know, a couple hours of mingling and getting to know each other and just kind of reconnecting with the students, the seniors prior to the start of the school year. So that was exciting. From there, we, you know, high school along with the other schools, a couple days of professional development and team building activities. Looking to one of the big things we're trying to focus on this year is student-centered or student-directed learning, where their kids are taking more of initiative in their learning and having more responsibility over that. And a couple different presentations we had on that. Erin Moore, she came in and worked with the staff for about a 4-hour period. Again, tremendous, you know, opportunity for staff to kind of just sit there and absorb what she had to say. We did have some opportunities for staff to look at some of their own curriculum work and how to, you know, see what they could do to make that stuff more engaging for the students and more student-driven, student-centered as whatnot, in whatnot as well. But that was exciting. And then again with Lynn Lyons, the feedback that we received from her was absolutely tremendous. So very exciting to welcome her back on the 24th there. Some additional things, we are starting a completely new daily schedule. We've gotten away from the block schedule. So we've gone down from the 94 minutes, I believe it was, per class last year with the RAM in the middle. And now we have, again, the bookend days where they're doing all 7 periods of classes for 45 minutes with the RAM. And then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the 68-minute period schedule built in for that. And feedback, other than being a little bit confusing, trying to get, figure out which day is what and which day had which period drop. The class time, the reports are that it's been, very beneficial for students and staff in those regards.
Pete, one thing different though is that not unlike last year, there's a skinny block every day
Yes, that RAM.
during the lunch, right? Is it lunch or is it a different period?
Well, we do have the same lunch period every day across the board. And now we're also not rotating lunches. So if they're in lunch 1, they're in lunch 1 for the semester. If they're in lunch 2, they're in lunch 2 for the semester. So that we don't have that type of changing around as well. So that has made it a lot easier for staff and students as well. And with the new schedule comes PLC and duty time. So we are in the process. We're going to be starting our our PLC time coming up here very shortly. We've got I've worked with the department heads and the admin team to put together a schedule as to what they'll kind of be focusing on. So it's not just, hey, sit and talk about this stuff. There's going to be a focus to it. There's going to have, ideas, and each one that they do will have some sort of goal that they should be looking to accomplish. And it's going to be starting off with how to still increase the student-centered learning, since we did only have a day or 2 with that. So you'll give them more of an opportunity with that. Then we're going to be looking at student data and how to look at our assessments for them. We've talked about doing a midterm finals type of session. So to really focus on how students are preparing and studying for midterms and finals to try to help that process out as well. So we've got a lot of good ideas to start focusing on those PLCs for. We're going to be starting that here in the next few weeks to get that going. The duties, kind of with the schedule, it's a lot. It is taking staff a little bit of time to get used to, but they are attending. They're out there doing their thing. And because of that, the traffic in the hallway is already, in the first 5 days, noticeable difference in the amount of students in the hallways and in the bathrooms, because our teachers are so visible this year, which has been outstanding. And they, like anybody, are not thrilled about the duty, but the results, they are very happy with the results of what they're seeing so far. We are more so now than in the past been addressing the cell phone use. I know that's a topic coming up later, but we do have, the students and the staff are on board with it thus far. The feedback from the staff, I've been reaching out to a bunch of them, said they've already noticed, and this is quotes from the teachers, more engagement in all classes, including RAM. The kids have been following and have been very respectful of it because they are aware that this is the new policy. And they're being following through and being requested to put away. We did have one student who did not want to put the phone away at the time, walked directly to the office, handed over his phone and said, I need this. He knew he couldn't do it. He handed it to the office and came back and collected it at the end of the day and avoided a complete write-up for it even. So as of knock on wood, things on there. I know we're in honeymoon phase, but
Get what you can get.
Small little bickers, man.
How did it start high, right?
right? What else? Our mentor-mentee meeting. This was sort of kind of going into our, one of our struggles in the past, but I think this year it's come a long way already. So we did have a manual to mentor. We kind of walked through that. We did meet with the any staff member who is brand new, whether they were a 30-year veteran, first year in Raymond, or all the way through their second and third year teachers here. and just touch base with them to let them know that, hey, we are still here. We're following through with our mentorship program. They all been assigned a mentor, and I have been communicating with them as well. So we're definitely going to focus on that this year, so we don't lose anybody through our onboarding process, so to speak, if you will. We do have an advisor meeting coming up, and that's to talk about how our clubs and activities and how we kind of handle what the expectations are, what fundraising expectations are, and getting all that stuff in line. So we don't necessarily have 3 fundraisers going on at the same time, which in the past, some things kind of overlap. So we're looking to spread that out a little bit. So we don't have, an athletic team at the same time that a club or organization is hitting the same type of parents, the same, people in the community for fundraisers. We want that, so we can do a better job at managing that as well. And we have that meeting coming up the 11th. One of the big things we got coming up is Challenge Day. This is a nationally known program. It's from an organization out in California that's been endorsed from all sorts of people, right up to Oprah Winfrey on this. And it is literally a transformative day to work with a group of kids to talk about what bullying is, what it means when kids are picking on each other, but it's done in a way that it teaches the kids and fosters them through games, activities, to kind of bear themselves, if you will. We're going to be doing this with our freshman class. We need to have, even though it's a larger group, it's a very intimate type of thing that happens. So it's for every 4 students that participate, we do have to have 1 adult with their kids. It's a very, big deal, very, very thorough program. And they come out, we don't facilitate it. They actually come out, their trainers come out and facilitate the whole thing. So even the staff who are participating fully participate as a student and fully engage as such. So we're going to be doing that with our freshman class this year. And we're definitely looking forward to that.
I have a question about that.
Right, Pete, go ahead, Cindy.
What is the organization that comes out to do
It's
that?
called Challenge Day,
It's called
Yeah.
Challenge Day, and where do they come
Yeah.
from?
California. It's a California-based organization.
Is there information, about them, like online?
Oh, yeah, they have a huge website.
Yes, I will Google it, but I
We have
just,
definitely information that is going to be shared out. Like, we shared a link to the adult staff members who will be participating. So it's a quick little 3-minute blurb on what it is. And then we have one that's going to be going out to the families and to students. That is the student perspective of it and what the students can expect on that day. That's about a 5-minute little video clip that will be going out, I believe, actually next week. We're putting all that stuff together.
did you say there's a date for that?
September 26th. It's a Thursday. And it's a day-long event.
No, isn't that the fair?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Deerfield Fair. I don't know if a lot of all the kids.
Yeah, unfortunately, we had to book this about a year
What's that
ago
day?
to get them to
What's
come
that?
out.
What's that day? No, the 27th is the day.
Yeah, it's a Thursday, that I know.
Right. No, I'm just saying that, yeah.
I had another. Okay, so you said 1 and 4. So is that they bring all the adults with them, or
No.
these is community members?
So
Parents,
counselors,
teachers?
our staff here, a lot of our counseling specialists, our social workers, school psychologists, they will all be part of this. But we are going to make sure we're going to leave a counselor out to manage the other, kids who are not participating in it, if you will. So we're not going to spread ourselves so thin to pull all of our resources.
Right. So do you know, so you said it's for the freshmen though, right?
Yes.
So all the freshmen required to go, or how does it?
They do have an opt-out, yes, and all that will be going out as well. Yeah, I believe that's coming out next week. We're gonna, because they are so detail oriented. I got a full timeline that says these what you need to do by 6 weeks out, by 4 weeks out. This is what needs to be done. So literally every day I'm on there, checking boxes. One is to make sure we have the necessary equipment ready to go, which I think we're all set with. But before I check that box, I'm gonna set with our equipment lead on that to make sure we're good to go before we submit to them that we're set.
Good.
Is there any, like literature or pamphlets or informational packets that the students are given, that go along with this? You know what I mean? Like,
On that day, they'll be given the.
or anything associated
Leading
with
up
it
to.
at all, yeah.
But not prior, no. They're not giving stuff out prior. That email will go out with the information and the parents will receive it, through that way. And I have a copy of the opt-out form where, it fully explains everything, but then says, I don't want them to participate. Those kids are still expected to come to school on that day, as it is a school day. Well, it would not be an excused absence if they opted to stay home for that day.
What will those students be doing?
Those students will be working in the classroom with their teachers. If
So like a regular day?
Like, yeah, a lot of their teachers, like the freshman level teachers will be doing that. So they would have a substitute in there and they would have, alternate assignments in those classrooms.
Sorry, I have another question. So is this part of the assembly's budget or how much does this cost or what is this?
This was expensive, but it came through,
Project Aware?
Oregon's, I'm sorry.
Project Aware.
Yeah, the Project Aware money. So
Grant.
it was not, school budgeted money. It came through the grant.
Terry, can we have the verbiage that's going out to the parents in our Friday memo and also to the staff? And then if there's any other quick literature other than the website, I think we've got some board members the board members would probably appreciate that.
Yeah, that was my next question.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So I'm just curious as to how you came about this. I'm sure other schools do it. What interested you in doing this program? I mean, it sounds interesting. It's leadership and how to, relate to your friends and all that stuff.
Right.
But
Realizing that there is a need, for awareness on how kids treat each other and can talk to each other and how what we can say does hurt each other and the words we use. It's, we're trying to kind of through our, like with our MTSS, initiative, trying to talk to the kids about, repairing the damages before it gets out of control, before it gets bad. So this is kind of what a lot of that is gets people to become self-aware as to what it is that they're doing and how their actions have an impact on other people. How I had done it at my former school, I was a participating member. Miss McCann had done it at her former school. She was participating member. A couple of our newer teachers in the last, 4 or 5 years have done it at their other schools as well. Same with, specialty council.
so you've done it before?
Yes,
Okay.
been part of it before as well.
Go ahead, Joe.
It says, they've served 2,700 schools. They've been around for 35 years. Over 1 million students and adults have taken this course. I'm just reading about it. It looked like it was, I mean, it looks like something teenagers would like to do.
Even the kids when I was at my other school, the student response was amazing. It was literally amazing. Those kids who you wouldn't expect came out like welling up and like very emotional and apologizing for stuff. The kids that they didn't realize what they were doing kind of impact on them. So it's a very powerful, program.
Can we please chart the school year just as we normally would and then be able to associate in years past the freshman behaviors? Previous year's freshmen, not obviously this year's freshmen because they're freshmen. You know what I'm asking? So that we compare. We do a lot of programs. And I'm not suggesting this is anything but very good.
Right.
I would just like to see what the results are this year compared to previous years,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Am I explaining what I'm trying to?
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Transportation For us at the high school, so far with transportation to and from school has not been a major issue. With all the construction and whatnot, so we've been fairly on track with that. And athletically, all of our athletic events are now covered, including cross country. We just got that way a day or two ago. So should be all set as far as all of those transportation issues go. Enrollment, we are at a total of 334 for the high school. Current enrollment based on original year of graduation, 87 incoming freshmen, 10th graders, 94 11th graders, 66 12th graders, and 5 fifth year and beyond students or beyond students. And then those will actually obviously, fluctuate down a little bit based on their actual year of graduation based on credits.
Go ahead, Joe.
I have a question. If you could look this, probably gonna be a finite member thing that Jen might be able to get more than anybody. I had the agenda for 4 years ago for this, and it does have the principal's report, but it doesn't have anything in it. They must have given us by hand. What was the 12th grade enrollment when they were freshmen? Because 66 is one of the lowest classes that we've had in a long time. So I'm just.
Oh.
I believe the class of 22, I think, was 66.
66 or 76?
I think it was 66. Last year's was, I think, 76-ish
Yeah,
in that.
in that range. So actually, I think for whatever reason, that's actually 76 sounds very accurate.
76 trombones.
Yeah.
I mean, I know like the 11th graders is 94 now, and they started with, I was like 104 at the time. So that hasn't gone down, but I don't know.
That class has been large
Yeah.
in relative.
And the 12th grade wasn't as big, but they weren't 66, I don't think, when they started.
Right.
Only question I had.
I'm gonna have to go back in and look at.
Yeah, I gotta go back. Yeah, we'll see if I can figure it out.
I know.
I get,
Or Jen can.
Jen has
I
it.
get it just like that in 2
Yeah.
seconds.
We're staffing, we're in, pretty good shape. We've welcomed a number of new staff members here. So quick shout out to all of them. We have Miss Cassidy, new English teacher. Again, sharing Mr. Velez in the music department. We have Mr. Van Cloro, our new math teacher. Miss Larrabee is our restorative practice specialist. She's taking over our formerly in-school suspension program. Mr. Tovitz, our social studies teacher. Mr. Parker is our SEL teacher who is taking over which is now called the Go 201 program, which used to be REAP. Miss Bagian is our BCBA. Miss Lapsley, Miss Medrano, our SAP counselor. We have Miss Gibbons in the kitchen, along with Miss Bartlett in the kitchen, and then Mr. White, a new custodian on staff. We do have a couple spots still open. Talked with the staff, looking for an esports advisor, one paraeducator, an athletic trainer, and a custodian. I did speak with Mr. Gaudette, athletic director, today. He had a scheduled call this evening at 5 o'clock with Exeter to follow up on a potential for the athletic trainer position. But as of right now, I've not heard back from him, but that's at 5 o'clock this evening. He's supposed to have a conversation with them.
When you say Exeter, you're talking Exeter Hospital.
Exeter Hospital through our
My
contract.
first thought was Exeter High School. I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
sorry.
why?
No, Exeter Hospital.
I then connected the dots. I just wanted to clarify. So
Yes.
we don't have an athletic trainer other than or
Bowling,
somebody for what?
football and wrestling.
For football.
And wrestling.
Wrestling is later.
But we have.
That's my point is right now. And we still have to have a discussion, hopefully soon as a board, to try to get an athletic trainer. We just want to make sure we have the cash to do so. Thank you.
And then the challenges, again, use that onboarding process. We really want to make sure we're giving our, not that we don't want to give our veteran staff support and whatever they need, but we want to make sure our new staff have, what they need to be successful here as well. So that's one of the things we are focusing on. One of the big challenges, the indoor changes, with all the room changes we did this summer, the overwhelming majority of staff did change rooms this year. And, so getting used to that for staff and students, and where's Mr. Smith's class? They used to be here now. Well, now he's downstairs. So that type of stuff. But as a whole, it's been very that part of it's been very good. Upcoming events, we do have open house September 19th from 6 to 7:30. Then we have homecoming weekend. 20th and 21st, all of our sporting events do have home games that weekend. We have a cross-country meet, JV varsity volleyball. That's Friday night. Saturday, we do have the parade. Then we have boys soccer, girls soccer, football, and then a homecoming dance. I believe it's going to be at 6 o'clock, but not 100% sure on that. So I kind of left that as such because that we'll get all that squared away with the advisors next week. Our quarter dates are scheduled as such. So quarter one will end October 30th. Quarter two will end on January 16th, followed by midterms. And then jumping right into quarter three, which will end April 4th, and then the end of the year, June 12th. And then the principal's coffee hour will be the third Monday of the month from 9 to 10. So our first one is 9/16, Monday 9/16. And then wasn't on your memo because we just finalized this, but it looks like we'll be starting fire drills next week as well. So we are on track for all of our good stuff to start the year. And that's what I got for you right now.
Questions, comments for Pete? Thank you, Peter.
Welcome.
Thank you. Amy?
That you've had a very positive start at Lamprey River. You're building on positivity, being very proactive with how we're working with students. And we are very grateful to Todd and Amy and her staff because the school looked fantastic as teachers came. And we used our high school staff who were working with Amy, and all our bulletin boards were complete in the main halls. And that just added a wonderful welcoming element for our teachers. And they were very appreciative that work was done. And it looks really good. We have had very little turnover. So our work this year is because we have a new administrator, and it is the third new administrator in 3 years. So I'm building trust and I am building morale. And one example is we cooked pancakes for the entire staff, and it was our administration team building pancakes. And we want to show that we're honoring all the hard work that the teachers are doing, and we're doing it by honoring them and serving them. Our first day was very, very successful. We welcomed the grades 1 through 3 in that first 3-day school week, and the kids have done really well. Then this week is our kindergarten's first week, and it is all hands on deck welcoming in our kindergarten class. You will see if you come to Lamprey River that we have paras who clock out at the end of the day and then stay for an additional 20 or 25 minutes so that they can help with our processes. We have really wonderful team members, and we have teachers and paras who are putting their students first. And that's the type of spirit that we have at school.
Before you go on, Amy.
Yeah.
Terry, can we allow that to happen?
They want to stay on their own, yeah.
We can allow that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So because
We didn't tell them to stay.
I didn't ask that. I asked, can we allow it? There's a difference.
Yeah, they're volunteering.
And because the buses are picking up so late, we have a school full of children sitting in the hall, no buses there. And teachers and parents are volunteering to stay and help us, because otherwise we'd be up the creek. And we do, and they're doing it out of the depths of it. Our bus transportation has been impacted by town paving. We've been communicating with parents. We've been communicating with parents so they can anticipate delays. And we're doing the best we can to support. Our car drop off and pickup has been organized and efficient, and is really a sight to be seen for how successful it is. Our kindergarten screening process was new this year, and it was incredibly thoughtfully designed so that every student was placed in a thoughtful room. And we did even hearing screenings for every student, which was very successful, so that we know that we are sure our students can hear what's being said in the classroom. We are in the second year of our implementation of all our new curriculums. And that means that our goal is to make sure that our teachers have what they need to continue to have all the growth that has been so successful. We're creating student opportunities for student leadership. Our third grade is now going to be making announcements, and that's starting next week. We have an incredibly cohesive and successful behavior team. And the one comment that you're going to hear over and over again is how great this behavior team is working to support our student behaviors. And we're shifting to more proactive behavior strategies to support student positive behavior and engagement. So just today we had a staff meeting, and so we have different levels of behavior. Level 3 means that things are not going well at all. And so rather than waiting for things to go poorly, we have our behavior team help students when just things are not going great. It's just like a little bit of a problem, so that we can keep students in the classroom and keep them learning. It's going very, very well, and we're very pleased with it. For our staff meetings this year, we're doing a group read. It's called Our Power of Our Words, building teacher language to make students, to help students be successful. And so it's part of our responsive classroom that Sam, that has been part of the CARES Act, what's it called, Project Aware. Thank you. So the teachers are working with us, and we're going to do it once a month, and we're going to be learning more and more about how to support teacher language and how we use the teacher language that we use in the classroom, how it's going to support the teacher student engagement. Our numbers are very, very similar to the high school. Grade K is our second largest class. It's 87. Grade 1 is 73. Grade 2 is 81. And grade 3 is 91 for a total of 132 students. Our upcoming dates, we are starting our iReady assessments next week. And something that we have at the elementary level is our first 2 weeks of classes not to be very heavily focused on academics, but we're building processes and procedures for behavior and building relationships in the class. So we're practicing walking down the hall. We're practicing ringing a chime and coming to the mat. We're practicing how to be a student. And those first 2 weeks are incredibly important so that the students can then work for lesson 1, which starts next Monday. We have our principal coffee on 9/13 from 9 to 10 a.m. We have our PTO sponsored event, Night Under the Stars, which is also that same Friday, and everyone's invited. We will have our open house, which is on Thursday, 9/26 from 6 to 7:30. And then we just, Terry reminded me that we did not have on our calendar our parent teacher conferences. And now that's going to be on November 21st from 6 p.m.
Questions, comments for Amy? Go ahead, Joe.
First off, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I was away last time when you were talking, so I could hear you, I just couldn't see you. This is more for Terry, I think, than anything. Sorry. Picture day. Why are they so spread out here? I mean, it's like 3 weeks apart. I mean, high school is, I'm gonna guess maybe even a month from the middle school because why aren't
You
they?
guys all, well, I'll look into it. I don't even know if we use,
It's all the same company.
are they? You guys all using Geskus now?
Yeah, I mean, why can't they schedule it so parents know this is like the week that we're doing it or 3 days that we're doing it in?
Heck, yeah, but
It's all, and it's been like that for quite a while now. It's always been, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense where you figured they would take the team from one school to the next school to the next school in 3 days straight and call it a day.
I don't know why we still do it anyway. I mean, everybody's got a camera in their pocket.
pretty good.
Yeah, because
Sometimes
parents
I was
still
so-
love their
Yeah.
school pictures.
Anything else for Amy?
My stepdaughter.
Oh, nice to meet you as well.
Yes.
I do have one request. As soon as each school knows their fall parent teacher conference date, could we send out in whenever it is, the Friday email blast one time, save the date for that? And then obviously you folks will, when it's coming closer, you'll start putting it out there. But I just think it's important if we can notify the parents ahead of time. We're trying to strongly encourage participation. So
I wanted to add, we also are starting our fire drills on Tuesday, so.
thank you. All right, next up. Student services update.
She's gonna have to sit right here because we don't have a cable to reach there for some reason. If you guys want to broadcast, if you want to broadcast on the screen,
That'd be super. If it doesn't affect your ability to present, being that close to me, you know.
Just at a table, if that's okay.
That
We had a
is,
cable though. didn't
Matt
we?
is gonna switch that one out, he said.
I've seen that. You want the email? You
No,
already emailed
I
it too?
emailed them.
Ah, it's my job. I already,
We're not going.
I emailed him. Where's the cord, Matt? Three people emailing him. He's like, I'll get the cord. I'll get the cord.
He's gonna drive in right now. Like, I got the cord already.
This will be the hard part, getting that to work. Oh, no,
There you go. You just get the different, you got a second, it's coming up as a second screen.
I was thinking if I heard this much about a cord, let me think
I'm
about
waiting
if
for
I
him
let this.
running by the window with a cord in his hand.
You'll be able to slide the whole presentation over. if you want. There you go.
Like, we don't have the technology where like at home, I just press a button and my phone's on the TV. We can't do that here.
We haven't
Up with that.
upgraded this projector in a little while. At least 5 years.
Apparently someone just pulled the HDMI cord right out.
I do it that way, it's gonna be harder.
Terry will get to the bottom of
Can you
it.
do a dupe instead of an extend? If you do,
Oh, technology.
There it is.
Yeah, I just can't see it on my screen.
there's a way to there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. This is gonna be a nuisance. If this is gonna be more of a nuisance, Jody, we'll just have you.
I can just hold up and sheet.
that's what we did. That's what we did in my presentation.
We're good. Good evening, everybody. So I'm going to touch on various topics this evening. Give a little bit of an update on how extended school year programming went. Give a staffing update. The principals provided a lot of that information, but I'll kind of give the overarching information. I'll talk a little bit about some professional development opportunities, some data, some programming, just priorities updates, and then I'm going to finish on a positive note and recap our Medicaid audit.
Audit is positive.
I was gonna say, I like that that's possible.
Yes, it's overall pretty positive. So extended school year programming. Overall, the program was very successful this past summer. It was fully staffed, which can be difficult at times. This is my second summer coming in for Raymond and kind of organizing the summer programming. And staffing was much easier this year than it was last year. We had a lot of the same people that did it last year, and then we had a number of new individuals that wanted to join as well. I felt overall we were just better prepared for the programming and organizational aspect of the summer programming. Again, it being my second year kind of organizing it here and having a better handle of the needs within the district, and having the support of the 3 deans within the buildings as well to help organize that. We did, over the years, we have changed summer programming a little bit. So prior to me coming into Raymond, it was primarily a 4-week, 3-day per week program. And when I came in, I had changed it to either 4 weeks or 5 weeks, depending on the needs of the students. And I increased it to 4 days per week. So it was a little bit of a transition again last year, just because it was a change for families and staffing patterns. So I feel like we were in a much better place again this year. This year it ran from July 8th to August 1st, Monday through Thursday for the 4-week program, and July 8th to August 8th for the 5-week program. There's 3 different programs within the program. There's the preschool program, which is 2.5 hours per day. There is some students who receive specially designed instruction primarily in reading, writing, and math, as well as if they have any like social emotional goals, they come for 3 hours a day. And then our students with the most intense needs come for 4 hours a day. Our attendance is decent. This year it appears that we had about 45 students that attended. We offered it to about 60 students. That's similar to last year. Last year, it looks like we had about 65 students, and it looks like 52 attended. And from what I can gather from the information I can find prior to my time here, it looks like the year before that, there was about 76 students that were offered the program, but I do not know the attendance rate for that year. Our ESY program was heavily supported by our BCBAs and psychologists. This was kind of new this year. In the past, we contracted with Constellations, so they were here part of the time, but not the full time. So this year, we worked with the 3 new BCBAs, which are our own employees, and I'm very excited about that. And we worked to have 1 or more of the BCBAs cover each day of summer programming, to support IEP needs and also to get to know the kids in preparation for the school year. And then we also had our 2 psychologists rotate through and be around during the summer programming, just in case there was any situations that arose, mobile crisis situations or other situations that their expertise could really support us in. I think there was only like 1 week that we didn't have a psychologist present. The one thing that we're trying to look at for problem solving for our summer programming, although I will tell you right now, I do not know the solution to this problem, is we are limited in some regards to the attendance for ESY due to the summer recreation program. The way that they do their field trips, depending on the age group of the students, they take field trips twice a week, and they're full day field trips. So if there's students that come to ESY, but only for a 2.5 to 4 hour day program, and it's a field trip day, their parents would then have to pick them up if they came to ESY, and they would not be able to attend the rec program for the rest of the day. So it can be difficult for our families to manage who have work schedules to work around. So I would love for our attendance to be higher all days of the week, because ultimately we make decisions based off of student needs. And we feel our students that we're offering ESY to need to be there, but we also understand family dynamics. I don't know the solutions to that problem, but trying to work on problem solving for next summer. So if anybody has suggestions, I am open to it.
Have we thought of, for lack of a better word, busing them after they're done here? And I don't know how that would work.
To the field trips?
Yeah.
Some of the field trips are too far away.
Some of them?
Some of them.
What
Like,
about the rest of them?
I don't know the distance.
And that's all I'm
yet.
saying is just take a look at something like that,
Yep.
because obviously all the work we can do with the student is better.
Question.
Go ahead, Joe.
So,
Tony, excuse me.
now these aren't the same. Is this a matter of some of the students that go to the extended school year also go to rec?
Correct.
It's not the same thing, right?
Correct. They're separate programs, but a lot of our students that participate in the rec program are students that receive extended school year programming service
So they would go to that, and then after that, they would go for the rest of the day over
on a
to rec.
non-field trip day. Yep.
And how do they get there currently? Are they at the middle school also?
Yes.
Okay.
We purposely have them in the same buildings. Yes.
All right.
We have a drop off situation, right? Like, I don't think we provide transportation to that.
No, what I was asking was about the location of the after-school program used to be back in the day at the elementary school. Of course, back in the day, I think that's where after-school was too. I mean, rec, but anyways, I digress.
So about how many hours is it after they would? How many hours would they stay in rec after they're done their school day for
So
those students?
I believe the typical rec program either goes until 3 or 3:30, but you can have extended time until 5 or 5:30. So depending again on family needs, it could be a considerable amount of time.
But what time would they finish up? Is that?
Yes, why services?
Yeah, is that-
Yeah, so typically, depending on the programs, they start as early as about 7:30 in the morning and they end around 12:15 is like the later end of it.
It's a good few hours, like I said.
Because you said what, the shortest period is like 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. And that's for the preschool program, which is housed here at the high school. Just because I've worked with facilities, it's been very difficult to be able to get all of the required furniture at the middle school. And even we move a bunch of things and we still don't have bathrooms that are appropriate for students. So it's just been easier to have the program here. And then the K through 12 program is located at the middle school with the AC.
Do you
I know,
Sorry.
okay, no, go ahead.
Do you know what that overlap is? I apologize if you just gave a number, like how many?
I do not have that information. Attendance varies, so it's not even like sometimes families do figure out how to figure it out for a day. So I can't even, like, I could pull some of the data, but I don't know if it would be the most accurate data because it might change on a weekly basis.
I was even just curious of the, say, 60 that was offered to, how many of those families had kids in there?
Yep.
Yeah. Might,
And I know sometimes like we don't send, if Abby doesn't want to go on the field trips and she doesn't go.
Right.
You know, we might have that situation where
right? Rec runs all summer. It's not like there's a time we could switch it to that wouldn't be impacted, right? Like,
and the alternative is what, go back to 3 days for this and they go every day. That would be a pain to go. Is the rec there every day? I can't remember. My kids went every day.
they do two field trips a week?
Yeah. Are they Monday through
Monday
Friday?
Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I don't believe in the past when ESY ran 3 weeks, it still didn't coincide with field trip days. So it wasn't, okay, this group of students is going to attend on these 3 days, which are not field trip days. It still had the same impact.
Wonder if there's a way to coordinate that.
Sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I have a question. I don't know if it's feasible or not, but on the days that the kids have field trips, it'd be feasible for the students to go have like a double the day after, or the day before.
From a staffing pattern, probably not.
Okay.
I've actually run programs before where ESY is like staggered start, and we do stagger our start and end times because of transportation. But I've seen programs before where it's kind of a full day, but students pop in for 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the mid morning, and then 2 hours in the afternoon, and just have staff here all day, and it pops in. But from what I'm noticing, it seems like staff appreciate having like a half day and then they get to enjoy the rest of their summer day.
Right.
Versus, giving up 4 weeks of full days.
Wonder if you did 3 full days. Sorry. We don't need to problem solve it right now. Just,
We have a year, but I'm open to any
Yeah.
suggestions. So if you randomly think of something, send me an email. Current staff, the principals gave an update at their building levels. But for our special education teachers and our para educators, at the elementary school, we have 6 special education teachers fully staffed right now. These numbers have slightly changed since the slideshow today because we've been in the hiring process. So we currently have 11 para educators at the elementary school. At the middle school, we have 5 special education teachers. We do have 2 vacancies, which was discussed. We have 13 para educators right now. That has changed for the slide. At the high school, we have 4 special education teachers fully staffed. We have 2 para educators. And then at the preschool level, we have 2 special education teachers fully staffed. And then we have 4 para educators. We did have 5, but one recently, which I will get into in the next slide, has been moved to our speech and language assistant.
So do we still need 5?
We actually need 6 for the preschool, it's the total count for preschool.
In the future, if we could have maybe some sort of signification as to, we have X, we need so many more.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
So we
Somehow.
currently have 14 vacancies within the four different levels.
Mhm.
I originally actually had that information on the slide and then
Got too busy.
I felt like it just didn't look great.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can tell you that there's, at the elementary school, there is 11 filled of 15. At the middle school, there's 13 filled of 16. At the high school, this is one of the reasons I took it off, but there's 2 filled of 7. And at the preschool, there's 4 filled of 6. And those numbers can change, right? So that was based off of last year's needs. We can move positions as we need to. For preschool actually used to have 3, and last year I kept increasing it. So now they went from 3 to a need of 6, but we have 2 vacancies.
A question about the para educators. So if somebody wanted to do that, would they go to the building they want to go to, or do they go somewhere and they get assigned to a building?
If they apply and there's openings at all the levels, they would get their preference at this point. But we are trying to work with individuals right now to really try to get some additional support at the high school level. We had to contract out last year for part of the year for paraeducators at the high school level. It seems like most of the individuals that apply are pretty specific within their application, and then even in talking with them that their preference are little kids and or typically the younger middle school students. I think it's just a comfort for a lot of the individuals. And some of the individuals that apply are also like fresh out of young too, which aren't always the best match with our high school students. So if you guys know anybody, we do need our educators. We're always hiring. I feel like that is one position that, you know, we'll probably always have a need, although I hope someday we are fully staffed in that.
What's the pay for that again?
Yeah.
19,
15 and 19, I think.
certified 19?
I'll look. I don't want to overspeak.
Hopefully, if we go through some processes this year, that will help us gain additional paraeducators moving forward. Just an update on our related service staff. These are employees of the district. We have 1 occupational therapist. We have 1 speech and language pathologist. These are the same as last year. New to this year, we have 1 speech and language assistant, who just started the role on Tuesday. We now have 3 board certified behavior analysis. Again, I'm very excited about that. We have 2 psychologists. We now have 2 social workers. We had 3 last year. We have 2 substance abuse professional counselors. We have 6 school counselors. We have 3 behavior coaches. Although I will note there's technically a 4th behavior coach by title, but I don't include them on this slideshow because this is specific to students with disabilities. The green room at the middle school, I believe that title of that position is a behavior coach. And then we have 1 lead behavior coach, we have a part-time, half-time ESOL teacher. And our one vacancy is our reading and writing specialist position, which is a district-wide position. We've had a few applicants that have not worked out, have not wanted to move forward with the position. So we're still advertising for that.
Pay 1575 to 21.
How many hours is that a week?
6 hours a day, so 36 hours a week. It's either 6 or 6.5. I think it's 6.
think I would know all this.
You have to work 6.5 because you get a half hour for lunch. I think that's right. Let me look again.
No,
So it's close.
The 6 times 5 is 30.
Yeah.
Right?
I think it's got to be more than that. I'm gonna look again.
You say 1575 to what?
The 21.
It's 32.5 hours per week, but that includes your 30-minute lunches per day. So it's 6 hours of work time.
Starting at,
Para 1 is 1575, I think.
no, I mean, like what time, like?
Oh, that's
Day
It depends on the school, right?
7:30 to, here would be, what time do you start here, Pete?
Staff or students?
Paras.
Paras.
Seven, seven pairs are in at 7:1.
7:20 you, Tom? And then probably elementary 7:35, 7:45 or 7:50. Probably a little later than that, maybe almost 8.
Eat something.
By the way, Tony, that's from what 15 to whatever now. That's from, we've gone up $5.30 since during the last contract. Well, $4 right now. Next year is another $5.30.
Our related service staff for our contracted providers. This is not an exhaustive list, but these are the big areas of our contracted providers. We are still in a small capacity contracting out with McBride ABA Consulting LLC for a part-time BCBA, and that is to meet some of our out-of-district charter school needs, if we have any, just because of the distance to get to those schools. We are now working with Miracle Farm. This is for a part-time basis. Is about 2.5 months, subject to an extension if needed. It's 2 days a week to help support the preschool while they figure out some of the components of having a speech language pathologist. Now with a speech language assistant, there's supervision requirements, and there's things that they need to kind of work on to make sure that students a service delivery model that's in the best interest of the students. So during that transition, and because of increasing student needs, we took on somebody until the Thanksgiving break, and then we're going to reevaluate it. We still have that additional need. Due to growing numbers for student assessments, we are now contracting with Ceresk for a psychologist on a part-time basis, 1 time a week. And we continue to contract with Boothby for many services. The big ones are speech and language, OT and PT. We have 2 full-time speech pathologists, 1 assistant, 1 full-time, or 1 full-time OT and then a part-time PT.
We have a full-time contracted OT.
It comes out to about full-time between the various schools.
So yes.
So yeah, it's not quite full-time, but it's close.
And we have an OT in district.
Correct, full-time.
And is there a reason why we don't hire the OT?
Haven't been able to find people.
So we're posting it. It's just a
I
matter
don't
of,
think it's currently posted because, again, we're currently in a year now where we started.
Pay scale.
Oh, but yeah, we tried posting it last year and we didn't
Raymond.
get anywhere because they're
Huh?
part of the
we're
CBA.
Raymond.
They're part of
Sorry.
the CBA.
No, I understand they're
Yeah.
part of the CBA. She's been around a few years. And the PT, we can't either.
That's a hard one to find somebody just because of the amount of money that they would make at a school district versus the amount of money that they would make contracted. I mean, we certainly could look at it. I don't think I know any districts that actually have a employee PT.
What is it costing us to have the PT ballpark?
I'd have to look into that and let you know, because I have like a general, actually, I could probably pull it up after I'm not attached to.
Sure. No, I just, if we could get it Friday is fine.
Yep.
And obviously I'm asking because we've been successful in hiring people that we've been contracting.
Mhm.
And anytime we can have internal people, I think we're probably safe to say we're probably getting better services. Not like saying anything against, but they have a different ownership.
Correct.
And the bonus was, in some instances, we were saving money, right? So I'm just trying to make sure that we're trying to exhaust all those avenues.
Yep, I can certainly look into that and let you know. Do you
Thank
want
you.
to know the information for the OT and speech as well?
If you could, please, yeah, thank you. And those are the same things. We've got a speech person in-house, right?
Yes.
And I know it's difficult. Another one that's difficult. Anybody in the health, it's difficult. I know, I realize that, but
We
It-
did have speech posted up until
Mhm.
around May, when I had to make a decision to sign on with the contract. And Boothby is a contracted providers that some agencies allow you to give like 30 days, 60 days, 60 days or 90 days to break out of a contract. Boothby is a year-long commitment. So, and I had asked if they would be flexible with that. But the way that they typically find their contractors, their providers want consistency. They want to know that they're going to be working somewhere for the entirety of the year, not potentially being moved to another district mid-year, which I can understand and appreciate. So they weren't able to work with us on a shorter term contract, which is actually one of the reasons why we went with Miracle Farm for the shorter term contract for the preschool, to see what potential needs we needed. I will also say Miracle Farm is cheaper than Boothby. But I can give you the breakdown for the speech, OT, and PT.
Thank you.
Some professional development that we have recently provided. We did a Title IX training for all administrators and all staff. There's been significant changes to Title IX yet again, and I believe you'll be reviewing the policies later tonight regarding Title IX. I think we're still grasping some of the changes and how that truly impacts students. The new requirements are better than the old requirements, but it's still not as great as the requirements years ago. We have a new software system called Catalyst that we are using for primarily our students in our self-contained programs that are receiving support from a BCBA and ABA discrete trial training. This helps track all the data and is able to quickly pull it, access it. It gives you a lot of charts and graphs. So we're excited to be moving forward with that software system. And it's also easier. You just walk around with a tablet and you input information on the student, and you can do it right then and there versus having to then track it later and people forget information. We had some training on Medicaid. We are making a few changes in Medicaid, which I'll talk about when we get to the end of the presentation about Medicaid. We had some training on augmentative and alternative communication, AAC devices, that I think went over very well with our staff. We have had some CPI nonviolent crisis intervention training that has occurred with select groups of individuals. This is training that we offer to select groups each year. And this year we had a different group of individuals that we trained from last year. We had, as I already mentioned, we had Lynn Lyons come in and give some presentations to staff, which was well on anxiety and how that can impact students within the educational setting and outside the educational setting. And then upcoming PD, we are going to be working with all staff on doing CPI. It's called reframing behaviors. So last year we did a verbal escalation training for all staff. And this year we're offering an extension of CPI training referred to as reframing behaviors, which looks at the neuroscience of behaviors. And I'm actually going to read you a little bit of information that comes directly from their website on what it is, because they do a better job explaining it than I do. So kids carry more than their backpacks to school, and through neuroscience-based training, we can see the stressors they are carrying and understand how they impact the behavior we see in the classroom. Our new school-wide training program, Reframing Behavior, teaches all educators how the body responds to stress and anxiety and how to regulate their own emotions while helping students exit fight, flight, or freeze mode and enter learning mode. So we have 3 facilitators for that. Our facilitators are our 3 BCBAs. So they're going through facilitator training right now, and then we'll be offering that to all staff. I believe it's the November date that we actually changed. We now are having our support staff, our paraeducators work that day. We had changed a date so that we could do reframing behaviors with all of our professional and support staff that day. And then Lynn Lyons, as previously discussed, will be coming in to host a parent information night soon. All right, getting into some data. So you have seen this through many of my presentations at this point. So this is just an extension and an update of performance. October 1st counts. So students with IEPs. And you'll notice that the last one is the one that I just added. And that is because we obviously are not in October yet. So I pulled what I could. Right now, there are changes within the system. There's still some enrollment that's changing. Some students are withdrawing and potentially going to charter schools. Some students are still enrolling. So when I pulled the figure of enrollments, it was at 1,125. And when I pulled the information for students with IEPs, that was the number. That number is about the same right now, but it could potentially change within the next few weeks. And all the information prior to the recent information from August 29th is all state data. And we're currently at about 21% identified. I will say on the state average is about 20%. It ranges from a couple different studies that were done. If you look at one study that was done through, it's the Fair Funding New Hampshire study that was recently done. They looked at data from 22-23, and they are coming up at about 19.4%. And then when you look at state data, it's about 19.67% state average. Number of students with 504 plans. So I gave a chart so you can see how we've changed, and I picked some of the presentations that I did last year and just put that in the chart. You can see that overall the numbers have stayed the same. We started off with 8%, we've gone up to 9% over the last couple of data points, but overall the number of students range from the low 90s to 100. So as a recap, there is about 30% of student enrollment are students with disabilities. The breakdown is 21% with IEPs and 9% with 504 plans. And again, this is consistent with the last data that I pulled with the last few board presentations. Out of district placements. Yep.
I've probably asked this before. IEP students, can they have a 504? And if so, how do you count them?
They can. It's very rare that they would. And if they had both, they would be counted in both.
Thank you.
Welcome. Out of district placements, we currently have 18 students that are placed either within special education programs, court placed, foster care, legal agreements. And you'll see that the numbers have changed since the last data points. Of that, 1.6% of out of district placements of our total enrollment, and then 7.6% of students with IEPs district-wide. Also, this number does not include charter school students or students with alternative learning plans.
Go ahead, Tony.
So the 18 out of district students, this combination, so on, the foster care and legal agreements, could that include, students going to just a regular school in another town, and not so much a specialty school, you know what I mean? Or would these all be
we have a legal agreement for any means that says that, like an actual legally bound agreement. It might be a little bit different from some of our like educational hardship manifestation cases, but if we have a legal agreement that went through, like a court system, then they would be included in this figure.
Right, so I guess what I'm saying is some of these could just cost whatever the student enrollment cost, like here is 19,000, right? We'd be paying that district, whatever. They're not all super expensive special ed schools, is my question.
Well, it would be whatever the tuition is and whatever special
Yeah,
education
so
services.
one of these could be Pinkerton for, just an example, for whatever reason.
Yes.
Potentially. Or Epping or any other place. They don't all necessarily, they're not all special ed schools, right? Is that safe to say?
Are yours all special ed?
Or not all.
Okay. good.
Okay.
So the answer is.
Thank you.
About as far as she can go. I consulted my attorney and she said.
I have
Way of
to expect you
phrasing
to go
that.
like this.
Yeah, well, John looked at me, he's like, yeah. Any other questions on this side? And as you know, this is fluid, right? So if you ask me again in a couple months, this could be different.
Yeah.
And I will obviously, when I come back for the next presentation, I'll give you the current. In district programming, this is just kind of a recap. We've talked about the programs before. In the past, we have our at-risk SEL programs. These are not special education approved programs. These are really our tier 3 programs that can be students with and without disabilities. And we have 3 within the district. At the elementary, it's the PON program. At the middle school, it's the RAM. And at the high school, it was previously the REAP. Now it's Go 201. And then we don't have any self-contained SEL programs at this time. You'll remember I previously brought that up to you just in case we get there. Right now, I think we're okay, but I'll continue to update you if I feel like we need to move in that direction. And then we have 3 self-contained programs for our students with the more intensive needs. And this is the Leaps and Bounds program at the elementary school, and then the Connections program at the middle and high school level. One thing that I want to just bring up and kind of give you some information about now. Again, I'm still gathering more information on this, but the New Hampshire Department of Education has issued some new guidance and requirements discussing the need for dual certified staff to be in all of your self-contained programs. I've been looking into clarification in particular for students that are working towards an alternative diploma and if that impacts those students. But right now, the language, it impacts any student that's in a self-contained program would essentially need to be in a self-contained program that is either taught by a special education teacher and a regular education teacher, or taught by a staff member who holds dual certifications in special education and regular education. At the middle school level, we are all set. Our teacher holds both certifications. At the elementary level, our staff member is working on getting both certifications, currently have statements of eligibility. And at our high school level is where it gets really tricky. The individual does not hold regular education, but we're trying to figure out how one would hold regular education at the high school level, because if you pick a content area class and you decide to get like mathematics, then you can only teach one of the many subjects. So I know that right now, staffing at the high school level does not necessarily allow to take a regular education teacher to come for, a period and teach different subjects to the students. So we're kind of looking into that a little bit more. We did just learn, to also give you a heads up, I have no more information on this except for today. We received a email, Terry and myself received, we're going to be going through another audit, yay. That is going to be looking at programming dynamics within the district. And I do know this is one of the things that they'll be looking at. So more to come. There's an information session on that in October. So we'll see what advice they give.
So they're gonna look at that specifically. What are they gonna look at specifically?
They analyze all elements of the programs within the district. So they're really going to be focusing on our self-contained programs, curriculum attached, staffing attached. Again, I'll receive the updated version of the information in October because I think the system has changed over the years. It's not what it used to be. When I've previously gone through it, they've re-upped what they're looking at, but those are some of the bigger areas of what they're looking at. So I'm happy to give you an update once I know all the information on exactly what it will entail, but they'll basically do, most likely they'll do site visits within each school. They'll be looking at our preschool program, our elementary, our middle, and our high school program. And they'll ask for a lot of documentation and probably do site visits. They can't ask for all the information because some of that's very like sensitive information, but they can ask for like IEP documents and stuff like that as well.
Go ahead.
So who is they?
The Department of Education.
So this is the state. The state is like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna recommend things for you, or are they gonna say you're in violation or something?
They usually come and they give you findings and then
Yeah, really. What are we up for?
you have to do a corrective action plan at that point. There has been talk, and again, I don't know if this is accurate, but there has been conversations or just conversations amongst directors that the state is potentially looking at closing some programs if you don't meet the requirements and the threshold. But how that actually plays out, I can't imagine they're just going to tell you close the program tomorrow. That's not in the best interest of students.
It depends on how bad it is.
Well, that's,
What-
yeah, that's what I'm looking.
5 years ago, I wish they would have come down and done this then.
What program, for example, would they close here at the high school?
The Connections program. They're going to be targeting our self-contained programs and our preschool program.
Terry, would you find out from Marjorie how much money we're getting from the state for all those things?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't have to write it down.
I still want to do it though, because now I'm curious. You got that, Jody?
I'm writing it.
All right.
So I have a question.
Although I signed it to you, Terry. You want me to sign it to myself?
Nope, I got it.
Big bets now that it's that,
Yeah, there.
because for the high school, it's more difficult, as you mentioned. You'd have to have for the teacher, like you said, you're a math teacher, that's all you can teach. Then you gotta have an English teacher that can only, and we're gonna have a teacher dedicated. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the state's giving us all kinds of money for that.
And I do know that the state's requirements do not match the federal requirements of what you are, what are you subject to with programs.
Are they more,
They're going above and beyond what the federal regulations.
huh,
So
I'm shocked.
again, it'll be very interesting to see what information.
I can't. It just boggles my mind.
I will say I'm not worried about this audit. I think it's just gonna be very time intensive.
Yeah.
But I'm not overall worried about them coming in and like shutting.
I'll worry then.
Okay, you
Go
worry. I'm not worried about it. Maybe I'll be worried more after the information session, but right now I'm not worried.
Refrain from commenting any further. Go ahead, Joe.
You can all worry for me.
When did you email them about the requirements for a high school teacher?
I spoke to legal a couple weeks ago.
For what?
The requirements, I think you reached out to, Department of Education about the requirements for are we supposed to have a 5-subject teacher in there?
I reached out to legal and asked them to give me their interpretation of the guidance that
Received?
that we received. And they gave me information, but they're further looking into it.
And that's Drummond? Okay, I said I wasn't gonna say anything else, so I'll,
I for one love it. I think it's long overdue.
well,
So
I sometimes wonder if it's more penal than constructive. I'll just say that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
my
So
experience.
if there's something that I'm thinking you're doing the job that maybe he's talking about should have been done a few years ago. Like maybe if you'd been in here we would have not had certain problems. I guess I'm thinking about as far as a district, if somebody thought there was something happening, their child wasn't getting the care that they needed, maybe, emotionally or something, would you be the one to talk to, or they would reach out? And, we have more people in place now to address those problems.
Yeah, so
Right.
if a parent has a concern, typically they would go to the building level first and talk to the Dean of Student Support Services. And then if, or the principal or assistant principal.
I think it would be the
depending
case
on-
manager first, right?
Yes,
First.
I'm sorry, I'm
I
making
just-
the assumption they've already talked to the case
Well,
manager, but yes.
We don't want to assume that because, as you know, sometimes those individuals just bypass certain
That is correct.
levels of the hierarchy.
Yes.
And we got to remind them, you got to start where the problem for you lies.
Yes, thank you. So yes, the first chain of command contact would be the case manager, and then it would potentially go to the Dean of Student Support Services,
Not for,
maybe building administrator, and then come up to me. But yes, I certainly get,
yeah, no, I just want to make sure that, because when we're on TV where everybody, oh, just bypass it. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, what's the protocol? I mean, we, as a board, can't sit there and say, well, we're shutting down this program. Good luck to your parents. Because they have IEPs and 504 plans. The state decides to shut down a program. What's the protocol for them to replace it?
great question. Don't have the answer to that. I mean, again, I imagine unless it's, they're really concerned about the program, they would have to give us time to figure things out. But I think most of the things are going to be, corrective action. So let's say, okay, they come back and say, yep, your staff needs to be dual certified and they're not. You have, 1 year to figure this out, or for the time being, you need to place an extra person in that classroom, hire an extra person and place them in that classroom until your staff member can get the dual certification. Those are the things that I kind of envisioned. through
And here's the
process.
check to do so.
I was just gonna say, it's in the same information packet with the endowments.
And my question is, how is that gonna affect the student? Like, don't you have to kind of prove that the student isn't getting, because you're not certified, the student isn't getting the care that they need? Because getting a certification doesn't always mean you have more time or you have more empathy or
But
something.
it makes so they can't stick in with a paraeducator. Or anybody for that matter. If they're in the room with someone that can teach them.
I think we could all talk about this all day, so I'll certainly
Rather not.
forward this to you after I get some more guidance at the next presentation I do, and or when I get information, I can have Carrie.
If you would,
wanna
thank
write it
you.
down?
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
You got that?
Right in the middle. Money. Yep.
No, it was something else, but that's okay.
Write that one down. Put that one on you.
Yes, and this one will not be until at least the end of October, because this
I'm not-
information session is. Okay, some updates, priorities. So we continue to work on, our SEL programming through the consultation of Ceresc. We are starting to phase Ceresc out. We had them work very intensive with us last year, on a monthly basis for buildings and then from district-wide meetings to work on streamlining the processes, having consistency, really the systematic approach to the programming. We got together through the Project Aware grant funds. We were able to come together for 2.5 days during the summer with individuals that had been working at those various meetings throughout the school year that were willing to come in for some summer days and really continue that work and get a lot of work done so that we were able to start with most of the processes already intact for the beginning of the school year for the changes that we wanted to see. We're going to be having at the building, we're going to continue the consultation model with having the building level teams meet with Ceresc for the months of September, October, and November. And then again in May. And this is to really make sure that we start off in the right direction and then continue the work. And then through those in-between months, we're going to rotate depending on the needs of the buildings. We're going to rotate through the consultation with Ceresc at the different buildings that need it, or it might just be, you know, every 3 months, it's this building that's going to meet with Ceresc, and we're going to start to hand off a lot of that facilitation to individuals within the school buildings. Our self-contained programming for the DOE requirements, I just got into that conversation, so I won't go there again.
That rabbit hole.
Charter schools. So I continuously work on the charter school agreements that we have. All of our MOUs are signed. They're in place. However, they're not all currently being followed right now. There are charter schools that are still trying to charge us flat rates for MOUs that specifically talked it was going to be the direct costs associated with the service. So I'm still trying to navigate that situation, because at the end of the day, I can go back and forth with them as much as I want, but their responses are primarily, well, then you send somebody in and you provide the service, and we don't have the staff to go and provide the services in the charter schools. So we're kind of stuck. This isn't unique to Raymond. The state had wanted these MOUs put into place to help with this process. And again, I'm waiting on some state direction on next steps.
State walks in and says, we want to help you. Thanks. I'll refrain. But the MOUs, they call out that they're going to provide service X for our student, and they're saying no now.
It says that they will either do that with reimbursement, and then it gets into the reimbursement terms,
Yep.
or it says that we will provide the services. So they're basically saying, if you don't want to pay our rates, then you send your people.
And this is
It's not
We
all
had a-
charter schools, but it is some of our charter schools.
no, I understand. What I'm just trying to get at though is, and this is the conversation, memory was, is that they're not always, that being charter schools, being friendly in when they have the MOU discussions, and that receptive to the needs of our particular students. Who is in charge of enforcing or policing, for lack of a better word, the charter schools?
People who love them.
So the requirement for these MOUs came from the Bureau of Special Education through the New Hampshire Department of Education. But I will say you can copy them on emails, but there haven't been responses yet from the individuals on those emails.
But they're responsive to audits, huh? I just trying to get to that. We're on the short end of the stick and the state isn't fighting for us. There's got to be somebody that's listening, maybe our legislators in town, that will raise a flag up there and say, somebody's not doing something for Raymond and other communities, right? It's not exclusive. We're not an exclusive club, as much as we may think we are.
We are not.
We're not.
It is.
And it just frustrates me that we have a state that doesn't always play by their own rules.
Mhm.
Blows my mind. Anyways, sorry, I digress again.
You're fine. We are working on our filing system, or have been working on our filing system. So the deans and myself got together for 2 days over the summer and had some very productive conversations. And this really came out of our Medicaid audit, is that we needed to do some work on our filing systems. So we've been really working on consistency from building to building, and how it sounds simple, filing documents, because it's been hard to locate documents within special education files. And sometimes documents are in many places. So there might be like staff members have a folder, but none of those documents are actually in the student's IEP folder. And then you have a bunch of paperwork from, a specific meeting. Sometimes those documents are paper clipped together, and then something is harder to find because somebody undid the paper clip and now it's mixed in with other meetings. So we're just working on a better filing system to make sure that everything's streamlined, consistent, organized, and efficient.
Are you heading that up, or is somebody under you? Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. In addition to that, it is almost complete, but I've been working with the deans on a description of our self-contained programs. just so that it's some information for the community, the families, that will be posted on the student support services section on the website once that is complete. And then in addition, this is not on here, but we're also working on our special education assessments and inventory report, because I'm finding that people might be asking for assessments, but we own it. And it's just a matter of figuring out where that assessment is housed and how somebody can access it. Because we have a lot of assessments within this district, but there doesn't seem to be an inventory of all those assessments. So we're working on that with a description of the various assessments too. So if a parent comes to a meeting and has been talking to somebody outside the district and wants to request 10 different evaluations are completed for their student, and they ask for very specific assessments, then in the meeting, the team can also open that document and determine if we even own those assessments, because assessments do cost a fair amount of money to purchase. And I don't want teams agreeing to assessments that we don't have. And I think that because then we'd have to be purchasing it very quickly, and the time frame of getting those assessments in is not always quick either. But it also is just, again, it's just a beneficial document to help teams and families figure out what we have. So of all of our audits in Raymond, we've been having a lot of them lately. I was actually thinking we were like done with audits until we got that email. So, but we had 2 Medicaid audits recently, financial and program integrity. We had an audit in January of this year, and then we had an audit of July of this year. Overall, the audit went very well. I'm very pleased with the findings of the audit itself. I believe Terry shared the information with you, but the findings of it, we had to reimburse the state $712 and some change. Surrounding communities are paying back hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it was really a collaborative effort. It was very time intensive, but I just want to take a moment to just thank some individuals that helped support me in getting this audit done. The rock star has really been my assistant, Almaleen Heron. She has been able to she's been able to compile and organize a lot of the files. So what we did is we had a bunch of students that we had to produce information for, and she worked on having a file for every student and tabbing everything and having it very clear. So of the 20 things that they asked for, this is where the first one is, this is where the 15th one is, and so on. She's been instrumental in that process. Our billing agent, Gretchen Rusin, has also been a rock star in that process as well. She's really the guru of the software system, out from the software system. In addition to that, the deans helped locate a lot of the information. So that would be Kelly Hart at the elementary school, Katie Bronson at the middle school, and Angela De Palma at the high school. And then in addition to that, we have various service providers and out-of-district schools that have helped us locate information. Some takeaways from this process is that staff that are providing the services and they're the ones documenting for the services in the software system need to be doing it on a more regular, consistent basis, which is something I've been stressing and I'm continuing to stress. Some people might track it somewhere and then they try to enter it, months later into the system, but maybe their tracking methods weren't as great and they put in days when they said that they serviced the student, but in fact, the student was absent. That's really where our findings were in the situation where student absences. In my opinion, that's something that we can easily self-correct if we just make sure that we're tracking things on a, weekly, bi-weekly basis when things are fresh in our minds. And then again, the filing system, it was very difficult to find documents. In part, the second audit was during the summer. So a lot of our staff was unreachable and had left. And some staff don't necessarily put their documentation for like their session notes. They have their own personal file where they store that information and it's not necessarily in the student's file. So trying to locate some of that information was challenging, although we were able to locate everything that we needed because again, overall the findings were really good.
The part where the staff isn't necessarily always putting information in as timely as we might like. Is there a way to have them electronically do it in the moment, or is it more complicated than?
So it is an electronic system. And I have recommended that staff just, they have their technology with them and they just input it after the fact. There's only so much hand holding I think that I can do in that. So I can just continue to make the requests and have the deans make the requests. We have made some changes as well. Case managers in the past did not have much, they didn't partake in much of the Medicaid because their educational services are not billable. So they weren't necessarily as knowledgeable about paraeducators who are working with the students and their assignments and which paras should be billing for which students. So we've now actually given case managers the ability to, they kind of set it up in the system, whereas before my assistant primarily was setting it up in the system. So it'll free my assistant up a little bit and it helps the case managers have more understanding of the process. And then they can hold the paraeducators who they see on a regular basis accountable for entering that information. It's not just paraeducators, it's also service providers as well. But yes, it would seem to be if you just have your device there to, do it at the end of your session, do it at the end of the day, which is why I keep stressing that at a minimum, it should be every 2 weeks. But in an ideal situation, it would be every day.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions, comments for Jody? Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your night.
All right. Next up, Iowa Holmes Gold Middle School cell phone discussion. Joe asked to have this brought up. Joe?
Come on up, Tom. The last time we discussed this too about how some schools you get in the school, the cell phone goes in the locker, it stays in the entire day. Do you think that's the way we should be going right now?
Yeah, so I think no matter what our rule is, the enforcement of it is what's going to be tricky. But right now, the way that that phones have to be off and out of sight in a way, which could be a backpack, it could be the locker, it could be in the pocket. I think I was, if we want to tell students to put it in the locker, like I'm okay with that. I just know that I'm already picturing some of my students who might try to wiggle their way around it. But at this point, we really are trying to take a firm stance with phones. And it's not just Raymond, it's really everyone. If you look at the news, different states are trying to enact different laws that have anywhere from partial bans to total bans. So it's a little bit of a, let's see what happens with some of those other districts. But regardless, I think that the sentiment is that cell phones are distracting. They cause so many problems, especially when prefrontal lobes aren't fully developed yet when they're making decisions with smart computers. So, yeah, I'm really open to what your thoughts are, but I think no matter what we choose to do, we're going to be tested.
I mean, I've seen it work where, again, you put it in the locker. Teachers find you have it on. Well, again, it's up, like you said, it's up to the teachers to sit there and say, well, this is what happens. You get one this time and you lose it. But I think, in my mind, I think the school board's got to make the determination, okay, especially at the middle school. I believe the high school is doing better right now. And you've implemented other things that, teachers are doing right now. But I think at the middle school, like I said, I think the kids just, they're kind of impulsive. They might walk out of there and, I'm in the hallway now.
Yeah, and I think, for some of our younger students, like we haven't given out the locks yet. So that would be one of my things. We have to make sure that the fourth graders that they know how to use their lock. They can get in and out of it. But yeah, the older kids should be able to handle that. So some of the teachers have actually already asked if they could keep it in their locker. And I said, well, so we're gonna have a conversation with the school board next week. So let me see what the consensus is and we can go from there.
I mean, I think that's been probably one of the biggest complaints a couple of years now, like from parents, is that there's just too much cell phone use going on.
I mean, and for me, like part of my job is to implement the policy. So I would say that if we make a decision today, that we have to somehow reflect it like in the parents' handbook. Because I will get challenged and say the policy says, doesn't say anything about the locker. So I think that would really be my only consideration. It's something I'm going to enforce.
Terry? Whether I believe it or not, hypothetically, we tonight decide we're going to tell middle school students to put it in a locker. Isn't that word above everything else in writing?
I'm sorry, what are you asking?
Does the board's motion supersede everything else?
You'd have to override the policy.
And that student handbook, all in the motion, okay? I'm just clarifying. Now, when we talked about this not too long ago, you had suggested meeting with your teachers and trying to come up with a collaborative solution. And the vote we took went 2-2, but we didn't do that. Do you still believe that that process would be beneficial? Or do you think you're looking for board action tonight?
Well, I think, in all honesty, the teachers, we've had conversations about it and everyone really agrees that phones need to be away. I think that part of the issue last year is that teachers had the discretion in their classroom, right? Like the teacher said, I don't really care. You can put some music on, then you can do that. This year, I didn't give teachers that discretion. I said that really it's difficult for students to navigate that. And so as a blanket statement, we're going to say no phones in classes, period. And that the whole educational benefit, I think we can achieve that with a Chromebook for pretty much almost anything.
If you need to listen to music, you can listen to music, not necessarily the widest selection, but yeah, go ahead.
So I'm looking at JICJ, and in that first paragraph, it says pretty much everything that you're asking for. It actually says devices are to be kept stowed away and out of sight, such as in a student's assigned locker, purse, pocket or book bag. So it does have in here that it should be in a locker.
But if you continue to read that next line, says that's the teacher discretion.
But also though, Steve,
No, it doesn't say it's at teacher discretion. It says a teacher strictly prohibited during the day unless approved by a classroom teacher or building administrator. So if that classroom says no cell phones in my classroom, they have the right to say no cell phones in my classroom per the policy we have already. So I'm not saying we shouldn't make it stronger or can't, but I feel like the wording we have is maybe more of an enforcement, which it sounds like you're trying to do, right? But it says it needs to be turned off, not in use. Cell phone during classroom is prohibited unless the classroom teacher allows the use of cell phone for specific educational purposes. And then they're not to be used without teacher approval. Like, it's a pretty strongly worded paragraph already. I don't know how you make that more strongly worded.
I personally would make it.
well, just to clarify though, it gives options as to where the student can put it. If it's in a locker, that's an easier solution for the teacher. If it's in their back pocket in class, that presents a problem for the teacher, because if I take it out in back of the room and I'm going, that's where the problem arises. So policy potential issue that for me, the question becomes, if you don't want kids to have cell phones out at the middle school, why not just say, don't bring them at all?
Well, there's a lot of kids that do after-school activities that will need to contact parents.
Well,
There's a lot of kids who have medical needs that might need to get connected. I'm not saying they
There's a
should.
doctor in the policy, I believe it talks about doctor giving you a note and somebody has to approve it. But again, what's the, is it the, for me, it sounds like people are abusing it. And at least last year.
Yeah.
And they were always testing the bounds and they didn't mind testing those as far as they could. And they probably went further than they even should have. It's probably a fair assessment. And then there are some kids that didn't do anything and are getting somewhat punished by the rest.
So,
But so for me, why allow it in the building in the first place then? If we're gonna go down this path, because that would solve the problem.
I just, like I said, I think there's reasons why kids should be able to have their cell phones with them. I have kids in the middle school and one of them's gonna try to be doing some after school sports and my wife's gonna want to be able to get a hold of her after school and if she doesn't have her cell phone with her, then that won't be possible.
That would be problematic
Right.
potentially.
So it's, again, we have a policy that's very well written. I think we need to start following it more to the letter of the policy. If a kid is in this classroom, hey, don't use your cell phone comes out, cell phone goes away. Like, I think it needs to be, I don't feel it, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like we are pulling cell phones from kids as quickly as we can based on this policy. And that leaves us in a position where we're going to try to rewrite a policy that's already pretty well written. And if we can't enforce this one, what makes you think we're going to enforce the other one? Kids will still bring cell phones to school.
Well, I was just suggesting.
Yeah.
I didn't say that was my solution.
Sorry.
Currently, in the current school year, we're, for lack of, I don't want to put, more aggressively trying to enforce.
Okay.
Because we didn't really change the policy. I mean, that I'm aware of, the
No.
policy didn't change from one year to the next. We're just trying to more aggressively enforce it.
We're not giving an inch.
Right.
In the past, we gave an inch and they took a mile. We're not giving that inch.
Right. And I think that's what it comes down to. But if we're trying to eliminate them, then, yeah. Okay. Go ahead. I've got Tony and then Cindy and I think Joe.
So my only thing is with the whole taking of the phones. I don't like the idea of us taking phones from kids for any reason. I mean, we had this discussion during the policy committee meeting, because then that puts us on the hook for potential loss or damage property, right?
Correct.
So I don't even want to go down that road.
Do you have a solution?
Whatever it is, I don't want to be taking phones from kids, because then you're gonna pissed off parents, you're gonna have kids that's gonna escalate it to a whole other level. And then that, again, the lost or damaged phone, because my phone didn't do that when you took it from me.
It was,
Then what?
you mentioned that. And one of the things, I don't remember, I'm just gonna, there was a news, and I don't remember the outlet I was watching. It was in the last couple of days. They were talking about a particular school that implemented much stricter phones. And they interviewed some students and they weren't happy with it, but they seemed to be, it is what it is type of situation. So it wasn't like there was a revolution that happened because the student
Right.
body were told they couldn't have, there wasn't a junta. So there are, I think we might be overestimating the nature of the students' reaction if we change more strict than what we are now.
I would say that we are still in the honeymoon phase,
Yes.
but I walked around the 8th grade, did not see a single phone out today. I know that at the high school I've walked around, I have not seen one out either. I'm not going to say that's how it's going to be. I think the administration's done a nice job too of also letting the parents know that we're going to be stricter. And so maybe that message at home, right, wrong, or different if they're reading it, the few that are letting their kids know that, hey, if somebody's telling you, I mean, the young man today,
Yeah.
gotta go out.
Good
Last year?
regulation.
Never. I mean, it would have been a fight.
Yep.
Oh, here you go. See you later. I'm out.
Go ahead, Cindy, sorry.
As a parent, I think also having the phone, like say, even as a person with a phone, you know? I mean, if it's in your pocket, it's kind of like, oh, you know, you
Tempting.
might hear it vibrate and you're like, who is it gonna be? And you don't, and then you're like, is it emergency? And then your brain just, you know, and then you have to touch it. So we have a small school. We have decided to just, every homeroom teacher puts it in a basket, and also honeymoon phase, but they, you know, if there's certain time during lunch or something, they need to check something, let them check it or whatever. But I tell you, the kids are much more relaxed when they don't have it, when it's not an option. And we just said, it's not an option till you're leaving the premises. Like if you have to connect with a ride, especially the older kids, you know, you can come see your phone and check whatever. I guess I would be an advocate of either giving it to the teacher, homeroom teacher or something, which I know it might be impossible in this situation, or putting it in their locker where it's there. They know where it is. It's not held by someone, but I just know that over time, it just gets, it's just calling them all the time. And when they don't have it as an option, they're more apt to do what they're supposed to be doing, you know, talk to the people that are right in front of them. Because even if they go out, you know, even if my kids go out for an activity, if they've got their phone there and they got people there, they're still going to be checking their phone. And as a parent, I think I want them to be phoneless sometimes, you know, and I have older kids, so, but I want them to have that one-on-one people time, and they might not have it if we don't put a cage on it somehow. And I think when we talked about this before, I was of the mind to put it in the locker, lock it up. And then like if they have time at any point in time, they can have the time to unlock it and get to the phone and check it. That might be an option. I don't know the schedule, but I just think it's important to allow them that time where they can be free of it while they're at school.
Joe,
I mean, I know how you, Steve, you see it's worded. I mean, I would take out the optional wording and just say students must put in their locker at the beginning of the day. They won't be able to take it out until the end of the day when they're meeting in their homerooms again or whatever, getting ready to leave. In my mind, it's the best option. Teachers kind of know that they're sneaking to their lockers where they got to get a pencil for the 16th time. So they kind of have an inkling, hey, there's something going on there in their locker doing something. And I don't mind. I mean, if they got to go to the office and put their cell phone, if you got to get some of those safety baggies, a couple of them, not a whole bunch of them, just to say, hey, this is where you got to put it. Those are usually pretty padded. And you have to put it somewhere that I'm fine with that. Touch it.
You can put them in like a Faraday bag. They'll just kill the communication to it.
So, but that's where I would go with this.
I would say the only caveat I would add then maybe to, like Cindy said, is maybe they can check it at lunch. If somebody, that would be it. But I'm okay with saying locker versus bag and pocket and all that. I'm okay with saying that it should be in the locker. But here's the deal. Kids are used to being on their phones. And if we don't give them an opportunity to check it, if they know, hey, I can check it at lunch, they won't be trying to sneak.
No,
You don't think?
yeah. And then you
And it's
all day.
Right.
Or
Yeah, because if you give them the opportunity, what's your biggest lunch right now, ballpark? Over 100?
160.
Imagine 160 kids saying at lunch, I want to go check my phone in my locker. Who's gonna
Really?
police that?
Well, I mean,
Steve will.
how much time do they get to go to lunch?
25 minutes.
Not a lot of,
They
no.
spend 25 minutes on their phone instead of eating. That's on them.
Well, Well, no, the problem
We're
is-
talking middle school kids, right? So at some point in time, you have to sort of give them access to the keys to the kingdom so they can learn to control their own behavior. You can only guide the boat so far. It's an issue I deal with issues like this on a different scale, right? You have to implement the rules. You have to have them enforced, whatever they are. The kids that want to get around that rule are going to get around the rule. It doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter what we say. We could say no cell phones ever, and 30% of those kids are going to show up with a cell phone. And then what do? We take them? Do we tell them what to do? So if you tell them, if you bring it, it goes to your locker. If we catch you with it at any other time but X, it goes to the principal's office. You have to make it a manageable rule, because if you make it an absolute, it's never going to work. I guarantee you it will fail.
Well, Joe,
That's my
and
thought.
I'm gonna go. Go ahead, Sean.
I know school districts, it doesn't fail. When you get it at the end of the day, if you get caught with it, you get the warning, you know. And teachers makes, if you did it, 1 week and then you did it, 3 weeks later, that's a different story. But if you're doing it every day, you get the warning and then it goes bye-bye. I think it's come to the point where in some school districts, they suspend you for looking at your phone.
Yeah, and plus we've got states like, I don't know who mentioned, maybe I think Tom, that have outlawed cell phones in schools, right? And it's working for them. Whether we like that as a result, I don't know. But, the LA school district, largest school district in the country. This year they've banned them and they're going to reevaluate, I think, in January. And I'm thinking, but it just, something has to be done. And I don't know what the solution is, but
And
we've got, it's causing a lot of troubles that we didn't anticipate 20 years ago when we first got
When phones just started being a thing.
a thing,
in this
Go ahead.
school district, they can have the keys to the kingdom when they get to high school, and they're hopefully a little bit more responsible and won't
That's
be
the hope.
taking them out. Plus our schedule really doesn't align so much so they can go to their lockers at the end of the day because they're usually somewhere else. But at the middle school, we definitely have more control over,
So your suggestion is just if they bring it, it goes in the locker and that's it. Never touch it throughout the day.
till the end of the day. When it's that time to go home, if the teacher, and like I know Chester is, that you still have to ask the teacher at the end of the day, can I use my phone to check my messages? It's up to the teacher whether you can.
And I'm assuming if the parent needs to get Johnny, they call the office.
Yeah.
We're capable of that.
Yeah, Johnny can't just leave anyway.
No.
Well, no, what I mean is, people,
Those messages aren't going to be delivered right away.
I mean, Johnny's not gonna get it?
No,
No instant messaging?
no,
Terry.
clear on that too.
No, I understand.
Well, the presumption will be that if I call, that message is going
Right.
right now.
Yeah, and I'm assuming the office staff knows if something's at home situation, they know the seriousness of it. Just like 40 years ago, they would know they've got to get a hold of Johnny.
Again, I'm not
And it's-
worried about the office staff.
I know, but it's the parents. I understand.
Just want to be clear.
What is your recommendation on all this for the middle school?
Again, what do you want to do?
I can go either way. We could also try it for a period of time and see how it goes.
I'm just-
And I can reevaluate.
It's just, again,
I think,
if we're doing it right now and we're being success, I like to keep it the way it is. And if we start to have issues, we're done. I think if we tell the kids this becomes an issue, this is what's going to happen. We're putting them in the lockers. Because if they're abiding by the rules now, this group of kids, and they're following the rules, I don't know why we're changing the rule. If it's not an issue. If we would have said this last year, if Tom would have came to us in January, February, I think Tom would have been like, lock them up, lock them up, lock them up. We're done.
okay,
And I think Tom would say the same thing. If we get to a point where I'm tired of dealing with this, lock them up.
But the subject did come up before school started. So
yeah,
Yeah, we talked
but
about
this,
it.
yeah, exactly. But my question would become, if the board said, yes, go ahead with that philosophy. If you say lock them up, we had just covered earlier, our policies and our handbooks don't cover it.
Yeah, we'd have to come to you and say, hey,
Right, but-
we need to change the policy. Let's go.
You know how frequently we get together, right?
Wow.
And that's all I'm saying is,
I think we could do it quick enough.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's all. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable if that's
To come in here,
you wanna go.
They have an emergency meeting saying,
Sorry. I hear what you're saying. The way and I guess maybe we're getting into legalese, but the way I read this, we have a choice. It has to be somewhere, and a locker is one of the choices we can make.
Right, but what does the complete sentence say?
It says that such devices are to be kept stowed away and out of sight, such as, and these are options, in a student's assigned locker, purse, pocket, or book bag. Those are options for places it can be kept. It doesn't say who gets to make the choice. If the teacher decides the choice is locker.
What has been implied over
So I
history?
think that if we say that you can put it in your backpack or your phone, and then I say, just kidding, you have to put it in the locker, you know, most students will probably go along with it, but there will be a few with their parents that say, actually, the policy doesn't say that. Policy says it's totally fine in their backpack.
That's right. That's what I,
And I would feel like-
and that has been past practice. Right?
It
Wrong or
doesn't,
indifferent.
it doesn't say they get.
As much as I hate that.
I read that a little more strictly than I guess it's been in practice. But I guess if it came down to a problem in 2 months and you said, we want to lock them up, I guess I feel there's enough here to say, we can amend it if you need to, but according to this, we can tell you it needs to be in a locker.
we're just gonna take that doubt away and lock them up.
We can lock them up.
Just change it and just be done with it. I just,
You can change.
that's right. If there's Steve, I'll
right, well-
clear about the stuff that.
Oh, no, I
deal with
hear
last year
you.
Because individuals were interpreting policy a different way. You know what I'm saying?
So,
I think with the repeat offenders, like last year, I had a check-in, check-out system for 2 weeks. You have to turn your phone in every single morning to the office and pick it up at the end of the day. So, you know, if we needed to get to that point for, you know, the 5% that's not following the rules, then we could be much more restrictive.
right.
Really, I think it's more of a blanket statement.
I'm a big follower too in positive peer pressure too. And kids will make sure that if this is the deal, they're gonna want kids to follow the rules.
If we're going in this direction, I think it needs to be made loud and clear to the student body that the board has talked about this and lay it on us. I don't mind.
I'm
Right, no, exactly.
you can eat for this one.
Get the.
If there was no problem though, we
But-
wouldn't be talking about it.
Yeah,
So
I think-
obviously there was a problem.
If that happens, then there's going to be more peer pressure, whether it's successful, who knows? But at some point, hopefully everybody adheres to the rules so that they don't punish the right.
Yeah, we hope, but
No, I understand. And if it doesn't, then you just tell them the board will take it away.
Works.
Are you okay with that direction?
I'm
Karen?
that close.
You're that close to that? Okay.
But what's it gonna take? Like one person,
Well,
two people,
no,
three people?
I would leave it to the administration to
people.
make that judgment. Once it hits a level of Pete getting red in the face,
well, it doesn't take very long either, so we might wanna.
well, whatever shade you're looking for. But I think we've got to rely on the administrators to make that call and say to the board, we need to do something. Can we change this
It's
policy?
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, and
I feel too that the teachers will have if they're tired of it too, they're gonna let Tom and Pete know too that it's time. You know, we're having a hard time policing themselves. Yeah, it's like, all right, we've had enough.
And even if it came down to it with Pete, if we had to sit there and make the last class 3 minutes shorter so people can go back to their locker and pick up their phones every day, I'd be perfectly willing to sit there and do that.
Yeah.
My kids would probably kill me afterwards for taking away their cell phones. But hey, you lost your privileges and that's, you know,
This is that opportunity that I was talking about, like if we're giving them, to Tom's point, leave it the way it is for now, give them the opportunity to do the right thing. And if as a student body, they can't handle it, then that's the consequence, right? That's sort of the option to be responsible. And if you can't, as a group, be responsible, then
And
it has to go in your locker for
And
them.
most of the towns who are strict are like Manchester's enforcing it. Lowell went a little bit different. But a lot of them are actually using our policy. They're just enforcing it. Again, they're enforcing it. They're like, all right,
of the law.
that's right. This, we've got this. We got to start stepping our game up and saying, you need to start doing this. And again, when it's direct instruction time, especially at high school, the phone needs to be put away. Now, again, it's a little bit different, so when it's not, okay, but when I'm talking, it needs to be put away. And so far, it's been adhered to. But I also realize there'll be some test cases along the way. I'm not a fool.
Does the board want to do a motion or a consensus on this? What would we like to do so that everybody's gets to weigh in on what they want to do? And everybody's clear as to, after tonight, it wasn't he said, she said.
I'm okay with the consensus and just, I mean, I'm okay with the wait and see.
Well, I just want to make sure, because I want to recap it so that everybody's clear on what I'm saying is what everybody feels or is amendable to.
So what I heard and what I think we decided was, we're gonna leave it as is for now. And when the administration comes to us again, if they do, and say this is untenable, we have to fix it, then we'll come back together and decide to make that choice, that it has to be in the locker.
Then it would be, the decision I think of the board has been, is that it would go in a locker. Now, at the middle school, that's doable right now. This is for the middle school. The high school's a different beast.
That's just my understanding of what we said. So
Right,
that's,
and I think that's where, I just wanted to do that myself, but you did just fine. I mean, I'm just thinking that everybody's on board with the consensus. All right, anything else from anybody? You also have
keep your cell phones put away.
1 minute, John, I gotta get the phone. All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right,
Title IX? Oh, good. You can come down then pretty soon.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Nominations, resignations, we'll do that.
I have Gloria Menendez, Spanish teacher, middle school.
Get a motion, please.
Mendez.
Menendez. Did I throw another N in there?
He said Menendez.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to accept Gloria Mendez as the middle school Spanish teacher.
Yes.
Second, please. Second by Tony. All those in favor? Aye, motion passes unanimously. Next up, Title IX related policy updates, emergency approval. All right, what's going on? Before approving the 4 policies below, the school board may, we have choices in the world sometimes, vote to waive policy BGAA, policy development, adoption, and review in regard to the 2 meeting requirement for the first and second reading before adoption. What we really need to do, I think, is just waive the policy in its entirety, because there's a whole thing about policy committee supposed to be getting together and doing all that as part of that policy. So I just wanted to clarify that it should be, if we go in this direction, we need to waive policy BGAA in its entirety, is my belief.
Forever or just for this?
For tonight's action of the emergency. As we've got information here, this is all US government mandates that we're supposed to have in place August 1st, 2024. And we're about a month behind for those listening at home. But the reason was we didn't have guidance from the New Hampshire School Board Association as to how to do it until sometime in August. And now that we've got the information, NHBA, New Hampshire School Board Association is recommending that we waive the policy so we can implement the policies or have them active with 1 reading and a motion. And then if we choose to revisit them, we could in theory, but I'll be completely honest, it's pretty much legal jargon and there's not much.
You're going to do this.
Much wiggle room. So I don't know, we could maybe haggle about I versus whatever, but anyways. Did you want to speak to it?
Nope, I just, if there were questions, Jody's the expert on this. You got a little,
Or you just want to, if we have questions, or do you want to speak to it?
No, I'm just here in case there were questions. I will say in addition to the New Hampshire School Board Association, but after a creating there were at least all of us who were adult policy.
And did they have, does that imply that they might have changes they want to recommend in the future, or they just recommending the New Hampshire School Board Association at this time?
I recommend that we approve it because
Gun to our head.
we're behind
Yep.
and we're required to be used.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to waive policy BGAA, policy development and adoption and review, and accept the Title IX related policy updates.
I think we need to do one before the second.
Waive it and then adopt.
Yeah, because we gotta waive it before we can take action.
So just so
Sorry.
I'm clear.
It's contingent on the waiver of the
Yes.
policy.
Yes.
I was trying to do both at once.
I know.
Well done.
So basically what we're saying is we're not gonna have to do 2 readings to approve.
And or go through policy review.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to waive policy BGAA. Second.
For the aforementioned.
Yeah, you're adding it back in, John.
Well, no, I'm just saying,
15 minutes.
well, no, I just want to be clear,
There you
because
go.
we've got first readings coming.
I'll make a motion to waive policy BGAA for the policy reading of Title IX updates.
Thank you. Second by Tony. Although, any questions, comments? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
I'll make a motion to accept the Title IX policy updates.
You're gonna do all of them at once?
One of these, do I have
You
to?
need to name them.
Do I really? There's no name
Oh,
on
I
it.
thought.
Policy AC,
AC, non-discrimination.
okay?
You see it there?
No, I'm looking at the
Policy
other. Hold on a second.
ACAC.
It's right below.
Pick and choose.
I'm looking at the actual the differences. I thought they were on there. Ah, jeez.
Take a deep breath.
Motion to accept policy updates for Title IX and the policy AC non-discrimination, policy ACA discrimination, including harassment based on race, color, national origin, and ancestry, policy ACAC Title IX sexual harassment and grievance processes, policy AC-R2 non-discrimination, equal opportunity employment, and anti-discrimination plan annual notice of contract info. Content. Nope. Contact info. Guess I should have my.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. And just to quickly, the first 3 are revisions. The last one is a new policy. Any other comments? All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Thanks, Jody. Thanks, Terry. All right, next up.
See you tomorrow.
New revised policy first reading. Policy ACE. Procedural safeguards, non-discrimination on the basis of handicap and disability. And again, just not sure why it wasn't done before, but it was due to changes in Title IX regulations. All right, any questions, comments on policy ACE? Hearing none, I'll move on. Policy ACN, nursing mothers accommodations, due to changes for Title IX. So questions, comments on that one? All right, next up, policy BBBF, student member of school board. This was a policy revision per a suggestion from the site council, one of the advisors, Miss Nardone. She asked that we have a alternate to the school board, student rep to the school board. And the policy committee discussed it and came up with a, starting in 2025, basically March, the runner-up would be the one that was, in the election would be the alternate. And the concern is there are times when the student rep is not able to be here and they're not a voting member. So their input is what we're looking for, right? So that's why that was suggested. Long definition. Anyways, questions, comments for that?
No, I was in favor of this as we discussed it, and my reasoning was basically that is because typically the student rep is very active. They do a lot of co-curricular activities and, miss a lot of meetings. And I thought in that instance, there should be an alternate here because at least they would have someone to,
Potentially
Yes.
reach out to, right?
that's
All right.
why I supported it.
Idea.
Next up is policy GBAM, a combination of pregnancy and related medical conditions. Personnel, this is new, policy suggested due to Title IX. Questions, comments on this one?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I'll skip my question for now. I'll skip it.
Thanks. That?
I'll skip my question for now.
Okay. Next up, policy IHBCA, pregnant students revised, and again, as a result of Title IX. Questions, comments about this one? Next up, policy JIE, pregnant students. We're going to rescind this, and this is due to updates to policies AC, IHBCA. Questions, comments about this one?
Can we do that now or do we have to wait?
We have to do it twice. All right, next up, policy JLDBB, suicide prevention and response plan. And again, suggested due to changes in Title IX. Put this on record.
Mhm.
Questions, comments on that? All right. Policy KED, public complaints about facilities or services, grievance procedures, section 504, rescind due to updates to policy ACA. We're asking to rescind this one. Questions, comments about this one? All right, next up.
Does this only pertain to handicap accessible, or can I just say, I don't like the color of that wall? Like any kind of grievance to do with facilities, or is this specific ADA compliance?
If I can say it, I didn't.
Yeah, no.
I don't have it. I can pull it up, but
It's getting rescinded anyway, so it doesn't,
so it doesn't matter.
I guess not. If we're
Okay.
rescinding it. It just seemed like a weird.
You all set? Yeah. Okay. Next up, new revised policy, second reading. There are no changes to the first and third one, ACF, food and nutrition services, anti-discrimination and civil rights complaints. That's new, so it doesn't have any changes actually. Get a motion for ACF, please.
I'll make a motion to accept policy ACF.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Next one's policy CA, administration goals. We're going to withdraw this one. Get a motion for that, please.
I'll make a motion to withdraw policy CA administration goals.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Policy ECAB, staff student identification procedures, and this is revised. Get a motion on ECAB, please.
I'll make a motion to accept policy ECAB, staff student identification procedures.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor? Aye, motion passes unanimously. All right. 24-25 bus routes, looking for approval.
As per policy EAR, the final draft of the bus routes should come to the school board for approval at the next meeting following their being posted online. Below are the most up-to-date bus routes, and I think they were actually updated today with some kindergarten routes or kindergarten students added to the routes. If there are any changes between now and the board meeting, we'll update the links, which Jen did.
Anything that you folks, you would
And I
wanna,
kudos to Dale. They've been much more, what I want to say, timely and on time with their routes and stuff. So, you know,
And all the
Thank you.
construction in town has been
Huh?
crazy. All the construction in town's made it hard too.
oh yeah, and they've done I'm going to talk about that, Mike, but yeah,
Yeah.
kudos to everyone.
new sheriff in town, Tony. All right, if we get a motion to approve the bus routes for 24-25 for the elementary school and the middle school.
I'll make a
Together?
motion. You want to do all three? No, just do one at a time.
We'll do all three at once.
Okay.
We'll live large.
I'll make a motion to accept the 24-25 bus routes for LRES, Abrahams Grove Middle School and Raymond High School routes as of 9/4/24,
As presented.
as presented.
Get a second by Cindy. Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Aye, motion passes unanimously. Next up, 24-25 Sports Injury Emergency Action Plan. Terry.
As per policy JLCJA, the Sports Injury Emergency Action Plan shall be reviewed and updated annually and provided to the school board. There's only been a few little updates. I believe it's minor changes to contact information. One of them is basically our athletic director. And the previous plan was Access, but it's actually Exeter Hospital, and that's kind of a big one in case you want to know why that's been changed.
It used to be Access and it is Exeter Hospital
It's
or
Exeter Hospital.
Hasn't been access for a couple of years.
Yeah,
Questions,
and
comments,
made the change, so it's changed in there now.
questions, comments on this?
I mean, kind of makes sense if you go to a hospital.
Well, we've got to deal with the Exeter Hospital that if they provide the athletic trainer, then we do advertising for it. That's, yeah.
Right.
It's on page 5. It says athletic training services provided by Exeter Hospital. Right now, is that happening?
No. Well, it is. It will be for football and for wrestling.
But in the handbook, in this emergency plan, it talks about all student athletes.
Yep. Well, that's not true.
So that's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Our goal would be, I mean, if the guy comes through at 5 o'clock today, it's not like,
I understand, but
so I guess my question would be, if we do get a trainer, do we want to bring the plan back and change it? Or we just under the assumption now we're continuing to try to get a trainer? And when one's available or hired, then it would have access to all students. But we don't have one right now because we don't have one. But when we get one, if we get one, they would be made available.
I'll just wait.
I don't,
The issue is,
yeah,
my issue though is that if we're saying we've got a trainer to provide services for these injured athletes and we don't, then we've got to change the plan, right?
where are you seeing all members?
It's a 26-page document. I didn't.
Yeah, I'm just looking at page 5. I'm sorry. It just says athletic training services are provided by.
And then it talks about athletic trainers injured,
Okay.
right? In the text of all the emergency action, I didn't think to document each instance where for example, on page 6, athletic trainer, the ATC is responsible for providing appropriate emergency medical care, first aid, injury prevention, and injury management to the school's athletic population.
That's not true.
Right.
Well,
So-
is it not true because we don't have one?
Correct.
So, but we wouldn't change the description of school nurse if we didn't have a school nurse hired. We would still want to fill the position of school nurse. So that the description of what the school nurse
Right.
would do once hired shouldn't change, right?
Right, but we're talking about a plan that we're gonna hold people accountable to go by. And we're asking them to do something that's not possible to do.
I have isn't this legally required by the state that we have to have it for
Only for
everybody?
football and wrestling.
The athletic trainer.
Not for everybody, but I guess not.
That's what I thought.
That's right. Only for those 2 sports?
Contact sports.
Well, those are the only 2 sports we have that are required. I'm assuming if we had hockey.
We would have to have one.
This is no injuries in soccer or anything.
Well, it's not.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying this.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking for what's the solution?
I mean, I can take it out. I can leave it in. I'm under the assumption, like what Steve said, if we don't have one,
Yeah, it's not like we're not gonna plan to provide one. We just don't have one hired at the moment. We're trying to hire an athletic trainer, right?
almost like I need 2 when we hire one, when we don't have one.
Right.
Being active.
Because
This is between the 2 plans.
I said, this is a plan that we hold people accountable for, too. So if somebody mismanages an injury, this is here, I'm assuming, for these people to go by, right? If I'm a coach, I'm supposed to know this, what to do in particular situations. If I'm at a home game, things are done differently. If I'm a coach.
I see what you're saying. It's not that the definition is the problem, that they may not have access to someone. So
Correct.
what do they do when they don't have access to that person?
Well, I mean, I'm looking right here. Coach is responsible for initial first aid and assessment of injuries and what level of care is required, subsequent reporting to the healthcare team and parents or guardians. So
Should just go get a cord.
It was on the floor.
I don't know, we can do whatever.
So what's your recommendation?
Jen's trained me well. We'll have two plans, one with, one without.
And then I do have a question on page 9. It talks about AEDs, and I thought says the middle school has a portable AED for athletic events. I thought we asked to have a high school one.
I think we do have a high school one too.
It doesn't say that here. That's why I'm asking.
AEDs, let me check.
Yeah, it says the middle school, but not high school.
The athletic directors,
Right, but I'm just going by what it says here.
therapist,
There's a fixed across from the gym next to the AED office. And then there's an AED in the cafeteria near the stage and the doors.
There's one right here too, right?
There's one down by the nurse too.
Whoops.
I mean, they're all portable. You can grab them and run. It's not like.
Right, but I'm talking about the intent was the
Yeah,
athletic,
or like an away.
the athletes would have it
Correct.
at a game because
And it wouldn't
they're
have to
not,
leave a school.
except for basketball and volleyball, not many sporting events are held in the school building.
Yep. Okay, I'll ask.
Yeah, I don't think we wanted them to take one from a building to go somewhere else with it. Right?
I believe the actual portable ones in the trainer's office, I believe.
I don't know where they are, but I'm just asking
Yeah,
that.
we might have to get another one.
Thank you.
I'm sure we have two portable ones. And I don't know, I'm just talking out loud here. I don't know who would take it from the middle school to the field. I guess the middle school coaches would, because high school practices there too. I know.
Yeah, and the high school practices at the 107 fields,
Football, yeah,
football and baseball, softball,
yeah. I'll look at.
all kinds of movement.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I remember I said we should buy a bunch.
We did, but I think we might have to buy a bunch more.
I need more.
All right, and then the last thing I had, which was on page 18, under number 2, there's a lot of talk about lightning and such, and then, safety shelter for football practice field, soccer field, track, at the Ivor Homeschool Middle School, and then 107 baseball, softball fields. But there's no discussion about cross-country, nor actually, winter wouldn't have a problem with this. This cross-country that we need to make adjustments, because that's even worse. Winter and spring track are the same. They'll have athletes out and about in town running, right? And it's not on property. So what is the solution for those athletes out running? What are they supposed to do?
Like somebody follow them in a car with.
I don't know.
Let me in.
We're supposed to have a plan in place, and we need to accommodate all the situations we've got, right? We can't exclude some of the athletes. I would hope not. Joe?
I don't know where the lightning thing came, the red alert, where that came from. I mean, lightning can hit, within 30 miles of
Oh,
where
you
you
hit thunder,
are.
you're supposed to stop.
I mean, shouldn't this.
Not what it says.
If you see lightning, go inside.
Well, it also says like,
I'm 6 miles away, people, let's go.
right, lightning within 15 miles. Like, I'll be honest with you, unless it's within 4 or 5 miles, I couldn't tell you how far lightning was when you see it off in the distance. Like, it might be 5, it might be 25.
They'll stop a NASCAR event if there's lightning within 30 miles.
Yeah.
I mean,
How do you gauge?
you see it, you.
30 miles, not 30
Well, the
miles.
thing about, the one thing about like the professional athletes, they have like radar, people in charge of
They
weather,
get their own
and
weather
they're
center.
looking at the radar and they're saying, yeah,
Right.
Raymond High School, I don't think has its own weather
No,
department.
like visibly, like if you.
Well, I understand,
Light-
Well, to your point, is the kid out running
right?
and they see lightning, they're gonna go, well, that was 8.25 miles away. I'm good for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Like, they're not gonna know.
I'll see where he's getting this from. I don't know if it's from the NHAA or what. I'll ask him.
If you could investigate, because again, I'd just like to make sure we cover all the athletes.
So I do have a suggestion on the dual, it's up to you guys. if you wanna
Athletic
have-
trainer versus no athletic.
Yeah, because I see it again in here on the same page. Athletic training will provide up-to-date information to head coaches. But rather than have two separate ones, maybe just change the wording to say athletic trainer or coach.
Page you want.
In this case, it's that same page 18.
Well, because it's not, yeah, it's the athletic director is doing that.
Right, but we were talking about, do we have an athletic trainer or not? So rather than have two policies, you could just update the word.
Slash to say athletic. trainer
Yeah, that
slash
way you have an option.
AD or, yeah.
AD/coach, it like, maybe even give it a hierarchy of,
Yep.
that way you don't have to have multiple policies. It's all in one policy that way. It's all easier to find if it's in one place. But however you guys want to do it, that's just my suggestion.
Are you all set on the
Yep.
suggested changes, Tara? Okay. Do we want to do a motion to approve the emergency plan as amended? Or how are we going to handle it tonight?
So I'll make a motion as amended. We can amend it. We can redo it again later. I'll make a motion to accept the 24-25 sports injury emergency action plan as amended.
Second.
Second by Steve. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye, motion passes unanimously. Next up, committee reports. Any committee reports?
Terry's gonna have to help me out on this one because I was 900 miles away when it happened. But yeah,
I already talked about it at the last meeting.
Which?
SST.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I forgot we had one 2 days after.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you forgot about that.
I was like, oh God, no, that's right. I brought it
2
up.
days after we got.
Anybody else for committee? No? All right, next up, superintendent's report, Tara.
Going to piggyback a lot on what the principal said. We've had an excellent start to the school year. Kudos to Todd and his crew again for the buildings. Town paving, it's been some issues, but kudos to the parents, kudos to the bus drivers, kudos to administration, getting the word out. People have understood. I think they also see the benefit because man, that bad boy is just about as smooth going through town now. So it was going to happen sooner or later. Tomorrow night, we have a planning board on the solar field. And again, I do want to kudo. I noticed in MUR, Bedford School District was bragging about the blue boxes you'll see all throughout the buildings that do the automatic lockdown. Todd and I were laughing. We already had them a year ago. Hudson was also bragging about Lynn Lyons. I'm like, we had her too. So kudos to Raymond actually being on the cutting edge of some of this. We just don't get the credit. And kudos to the Sam Horgan and her crew for bringing in Lynn Lyons. To be honest with you, that's quite the score for a school district like Raymond. All three buildings at the Sear. I sat through a lot of it. It was outstanding. She works really well. And I encourage parents to come see her because her message is meaningful. And how do I say this? But she does a nice job connecting to individuals. She doesn't talk from a lofty standard. She's lived there and been there. So her message is very clear, articulate, and meaningful.
Maybe because she might have a behavioral health background.
Yeah, well,
That might help the cause of.
that always doesn't help, John. Sometimes the more letters and stuff behind your name.
I think also that helps that she's coming to Raymond. She also resides in New Hampshire.
Yep.
Which obviously is
Yes, but
helps our cause.
so, kudos to all of them.
Anything else, Terry?
That's all I got.
All right, correspondence or other? Manifest?
Manifest?
Sign it?
I think so.
Okay, thank you.
Total counts payable, $686,299.25. Total payroll, $462,364.25 for a total of $1,148,663.50.
All right, next up, approval of minutes, June 6, 2024. I have, there needs to be public input was asked for after or before the expenditure of capital reserve funds. And it was open for 30 minutes. Anything else from anybody on for June 6th? All right, if we get a motion to approve the amended minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended minutes for June 6, 2024.
Second.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. I also for June 19th, 2024, on the bottom of page 6. Gotta get there myself. So there is no mention of our adjournment. We did make a motion. I don't remember who did it.
June 6th?
No, June 19th.
I'll find that.
Okay.
Hmm.
So can we do this tonight or
We can do it tonight and just as amended.
as amended by, okay.
June 6th.
Well, is that what we're doing, Selena?
I can almost guarantee you who did it. But I'll make sure.
I don't know, but because we had a non-public at the end of the meeting.
You don't have to motion to adjourn. I went through this whole thing before, even I got into it with somebody around town over that whole thing. But anyway,
All right,
I got it.
all right. So if we get a motion, unless anybody else has anything for June 19th,
I'll make a motion to accept the June 19th, 2024 minutes as amended with, motion to adjourn.
second by Cindy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have to abstain.
Okay. So it was 4 yeses and 1 abstention from Steve. Thank you. So the motion passes. Next up.
Yep.
June 19th, non-public.
I'll make a motion to accept the June 19th, 2024 minutes and keep them sealed.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion.
Abstain.
So it was 4 yeses and 1 abstention from Steve. Motion passes. July 10th? Anybody have anything for July 10th? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to accept the minutes for July 10th, 2024.
Second by Cindy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tony, you need to abstain because you weren't there,
I
according to this.
Oh, no.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm
It's
sorry.
actually Joe who was.
Joe and
Me
Steve.
and Joe weren't there.
So, sorry, I
Yeah,
misread.
I know I missed a meeting, but I don't.
No, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Nope.
I don't know which.
All right, so the motion, the vote was, so we can vote again. There we go. We'll make this cleaner. All those in favor? Aye. Oh, and abstaining. So we've got 3 yeses from Cindy, Tony and myself, and 2 abstentions from Steve and Joe. You look puzzled.
I do. June 6th. Can we back up?
Let's finish this.
Yep. Okay.
You all set on that?
3 yeses.
2 abstentions, 1 from Steve and 1 from Joe.
Does that pass?
It passed, yes.
That was the one where we had to sit here for half hour and just talk
Vegetate.
nonsense, right?
No, that wasn't that one. We
No.
filled it in with some
We were.
agenda at a, we
I
got a
was
little
here
more
for the
creative.
half hour of nonsense.
Just
All right, you want to go back? Go ahead.
June 6th, correct? That's the one you said there's no adjournment on?
That's what I thought. Yeah, am I wrong? Wouldn't be the first.
Joe took the minutes for that, so I wouldn't have that information.
Oh,
Non-public, he
oh,
did,
Oh, June 6th has the motion by Steve. You're talking June 19th?
I'm just, I said June 6th, is it June
No,
19th?
June 19th.
I think he meant
19th, okay.
I mean, I'm sorry.
I thought you said the 6th. I'm sorry, John.
I probably did.
June 19th.
I don't have the June 19th ones because I looked already.
Okay,
All right, so I was wrong.
I know we already,
Don't broadcast it.
okay.
I know we already made a motion to amend the minutes for June 6th.
So we don't need to.
Well, there's one more amendment to it, though. My name's spelled on it.
Right, but the funny part now, Joe, is we don't need the original because we were amending it to fix something that wasn't wrong. The adjournment was there and I thought it wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
I thought we amended June 6th already anyhow, did we
We
not?
did.
But
Okay, so it's just we'll leave it as for Joe as opposed to adjournment. Do you follow all that?
So the adjournment was on June 19th. I'm very confused now.
Who's on first?
It's June
Okay.
19th.
If you could read back the motion for the June 6th minutes, Selena,
From just a minute ago.
or just a moment ago.
It says Mr. Solomon, seconded by Mr. Bennett, to approve the minutes for June sixth, 2024 as amended, voted unanimously.
And we didn't need to amend it because,
I thought you did.
You had an error in June
You
sixth.
had a June
Found an error on page such and such. No public input.
Yeah,
okay,
Yeah, June 6th.
Thank you.
I want to add an amendment to that one.
Okay.
My name was spelled wrong, that's all.
All right.
That's what you will.
just give her the page number.
First page. Yep. Just forgot the L. That's not any.
Sorry, usually it auto corrects me.
All right,
I'm lost.
yeah. All right,
All
So
right, let's
now
start
we're-
over. Okay,
Now we're
24.
24th, right? Woo. Thank you, Selena. Keep me on track. All right, I have a couple things there. On July 24th, under recognition on the page 1, it will ultimately go to page 2. We traditionally list all the students' names. If we could do that so they're recognized. And then on page 2, page 2, after student rep to the school board, it says safety and facilities update. That should read, donation from Planet Fitness. And then the booster president's last name is Brewitt,
how is that spelled?
Brewitt. Two T's, no E at the end. So it's Witt, Witt at the end. And then, oh, I got both of them. All right. So that's all I had for July 24th, 2024. So if we get a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 24th, 2024 minutes as amended.
Second by Steve. All those in favor? Aye,
Aye.
motion passes.
And I'm abstained.
Okay, thank you. I thought.
Okay.
So Cindy is abstaining, so the motion passes. Then we're gonna go to the July 24th non-public.
Make a motion to approve the July 24th, 2024 non-public minutes and unseal them.
Get a second? I'm assuming that has been done, Terry?
What are we asking?
The July 24th non-public, if you open that up, because I can't say it until,
Yep.
has that action been done?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I didn't want to, we were making a motion to unseal it, and if
Yep, done.
party involved,
Yep, they're good.
all right. All those in favor? Aye, motion
I wasn't
passes.
there.
Yep, motion passes, and you abstain, Cindy, is that right? So 4 yeses, and Cindy abstains.
Who was it second?
Steve, thank you. All right, winding down. August 24th, public minutes.
August 14th.
14th, excuse me, thank you. Any questions, comments on this one? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to
I
accept.
actually have, hold on one.
Sorry.
Thought I had it 2 minutes yesterday. There's no,
What page you on?
oh, forget it, it's there.
All set?
Yeah, but
All right,
I'll make a motion to accept the public minutes from August 14th, 2024.
get a second?
second,
All those in favor? Aye. Joe?
Abstaining.
Abstain.
Okay, so we've got 3 yeses 2 abstentions, 1 from Tony and 1 from Cindy. You all set? Okay. All right, next up. Non-public for the 14th of August.
Do we need to keep this one sealed or no?
I know.
August 14th.
Well, it says nominations.
Yes, but it's the.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Way-
Keep it sealed?
Keep it sealed at this time. Is it something we can release in a year?
Yeah. It depends on how things go, so.
Do you want to check on that before we do that?
So we can just keep it sealed for now.
We'll keep it sealed for now, and then we'll investigate, and if we have to do something different, do it then.
I think because there's a name there, that's gonna have to stay sealed.
All right,
I'll make a motion to accept the August 14th, 2024 minutes and keep them sealed.
Second,
second by Steve. All those in favor? Aye. And then 3, and then Cindy and Tony both abstained.
This is the night the meeting ended early, but you guys were here all night, weren't you?
I don't know.
oh, the 21st. No, I wasn't here for the 21st. Oh, yes, the last one.
14th, because the one I wasn't here, I heard you guys were here till like 11.
All right,
Yeah.
that was something, yeah, we had a non-meeting afterwards. All right, on first page, under present, Joe is listed, but he needs to be listed as remote. Because it was remote that night. No, that's fine. Any motion that was made that night, because Joe was remote and he was present at, we need to list them as poll votes. So each individual needs to be listed as their vote. And that isn't for the entire night because he left at what time?
13.
8:13. So whenever that happened.
Anything while he's.
Yes.
Correct. So I don't know what time on the minutes that happened. Do you know what I mean? Do you have an idea?
I think it was notated that he left at like 8:13.
I think it was after,
Most of them.
elementary school, right? Discussion?
I remember was that or the athletic trainer?
You were there for the school discussion.
I know I was there for the school one.
Right.
I think that's when you tapped
I
out.
think that's what it is, what I capped out.
President Jackson was calling. All right. So, I'm just, you clear what we need to do, Selena? What page did the elementary school end up on? 3? Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to find, I just want to make sure that the proper motions. So the one that says motion by Mr. Solana, we know he was here.
Mhm.
So that one needs to be listed as a poll vote as opposed to all voted no. It needs to list of all of us voting no individually. And then the second one on that same page, also the same thing needs to be done, voted unanimously. It needs to be poll by poll, each individual listed.
The ones after that are good though.
The ones after that are all fine because then we went back to, we didn't have to poll vote because Joe had left. All right? All these nuances. All right, if we get a motion to approve the amended minutes of August 21st, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the amended minutes for August 21st, 2024.
Second,
A second.
second by Tony. All those in favor? Aye.
Going to abstain because I was only at half the minutes.
Well, you can actually, because you were there, you can actually vote.
Yeah.
I'll vote yay then.
So we've got 4 yeses and Steve abstained. Is my understanding that because you were present, you can vote? You know, like I've left meetings and come back and
Yeah,
I still vote.
The last meeting
You
one of them I
came
had
in,
to-
yeah.
I left for 2
All right.
hours.
Actually, I look at the end.
So that's,
Most of the meeting anyhow.
yes, thing, motion to adjourn, please.
We got, nope, did it already, come on.
Yeah.
What's the matter, Terry?
Non-public minutes from June 19th.
What's that?
The non-public minutes from June 19th.
But, yeah, we did something. What about,
That's the wrong date. I'm gonna have to get with Jen. Cause I'm looking at my minutes from June 19th, totally something different.
well,
So we probably, can we go back and
I mean, seal them.
unapprove, so Jen and I could figure out the minutes from the 19th and what date this other one is?
What did we do with them?
You approved them and then I had to find the adjournment. I'm looking at my minutes from
Okay,
19th and I'm seeing adjournment and now I'm like, wait a second. We're talking something different here. It's not even there. So
Did we?
so
unseal them?
we approved the minutes.
Yep.
We didn't unseal them.
No.
Okay. Would it be easier, Joe, just to leave them as is and then amend them in the future? I don't know what to do. I've never been presented this situation.
Yeah.
What's your recommendation? Unapprove them? I don't know.
yeah, we could just, yeah, rescind the approval of the minutes.
Okay, there we go.
Fancy word, but
That works. That covers it. Like I said, something I haven't encountered before, so. Anyways,
I go to June 19th working agenda and it says you do not have access to this file when I go to the non-public.
yes,
I don't know. I'm looking at my minutes right here. Well, when we get off the microphone.
Yep.
We'll talk.
all right.
I'll make
So-
a motion to rescind the
The,
approval of the June 19th, 2024 minutes.
get a second?
Second.
Are you all set with that, Selena? Because it's unique.
To rescind the approval.
Yes. The non-public minutes. Everybody clear on what we're doing here? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Steve
Abstain.
abstain. All right, so we've got 4 yeses and Steve abstained on that one. Are you now all set, Terry, so we can?
It's gotta, yeah, I think she just missed.
Well,
Yep, we're good.
let's adjourn.
Yeah.
Get a motion, please.
Motion to adjourn.
Get a second?
Second.
Second by Steve. All those in favor? Aye, motion passes unanimously. Haven't seen one fail.